Hey everyone, Charlie Morgan here, and welcome to Designing Reality. This is the final video of the mindset training. And before we start, I want to say a big congratulations and well done for making it this far in the training. What we're going to do in this video is start putting some pen to paper, and really we're going to take everything that we've learned over the course of the last 7 videos and start putting it into action. We're going to start designing the exact reality that you want to achieve. We're going to start mapping out exactly who you need to become, and we're going to boil this entire mindset training down to a nice, neat and tidy, easy to follow daily action that you can do a couple of times a day to start reinforcing your new identity, removing any of your doubts, and really just starting to build these new belief systems and become more disciplined. I'm sure that even though you haven't really started yet with this mindset thing, and even though you're still just learning, you've probably started to notice some perhaps minor or maybe even profound differences in yourself or the way you think. Maybe you're more disciplined than ever, maybe you're more motivated than ever, maybe you're smarter than ever, and you're starting to feel like you actually kind of get this whole thing. And so what we're going to do in Designing Reality is basically round off a few pieces of information you need to know about your goal, and then we're actually going to design reality. And we're going to basically create a sort of thing that you can see and hold and touch, and ultimately use to remind yourself of what you want, what you're doing this for, and so it shall be. Now, this is exactly what I did. I'm going to give you live, real examples that are fucking terrifying. Like I designed my reality. I've done it multiple times over the last several years, 6, 7, 8 years now. And I've designed reality, and I've got the PDFs and the vision boards to show you, and they all came true to the letter. It's fucking scary how well this stuff works. And so I'm going to show you those examples, and you can model off of mine. So let's get into it. So we're going to go through some pinups, Stockdale goal setting, reverse engineered plan, beliefs recap, belief feedback loops, forging experiences, and then a couple of extremely important action items. So this is a heavy action item dependent module, as it should be since it's the last one. So let's get into it. So welcome to Designing Reality. First of all, well done. Like I said, you've made it quite far into this training, and you're clearly showing no signs of quitting. So I understand the length of the average video here isn't insignificant. I know that it's been tough and maybe hard at times to go through these videos, but here you are showing up, serious about your goals, game face on. Well done. Okay, you've made it further than 99% of people, which is a fantastic start. You've got a long road ahead of you though. Here we'll wrap up this mindset training by building what I call a self-transcendence workbook or document, which serves as your map through your entrepreneurial and personal journey. Now at this point, you've understood all the theory, and now it's time to put it together into some actionable steps. So the first piece of action I want you to take is pinups. So one thing that helped me massively on my entrepreneurial journey was using pinups. These were A4 posters that I'd blue tack or pin to my bedroom wall, which is where I worked, that reminded me of what I'd learned so I could stay accountable. These were really helpful to me, so I've made some for you. And yeah, they're really awesome. And you might have seen some pinups in earlier videos as well throughout the content. But these are specifically from the mindset module. So I've gone ahead and created these pinups for each mindset video you've watched so far. And basically what they do is they summarize each mindset video. So you want to print these off and pin them up in your office or your bedroom, and they contain the core central thesis of each mindset video so you don't forget what you've learned. When I was starting out, my wall was full of pin-ups, sticky notes and stuff I didn't want to forget. So, you know, at the beginning of my journey, I had like my bedroom walls were literally covered head to toe in printouts of, you know, words and diagrams and things I'd learned I didn't want to forget. When I went through, when I was mentored by my mentor Sam, he had lots of things that I could print off and pin up, and I did, and my room was just covered. It was like a, you know, someone trying to figure out a crime scene. Like it was just covered in like different diagrams and words and ideas and abstractions and motivations. So pretty cool. So what we have here is a little Google Drive folder, and you can see them, they're in order here for every single mindset video. So here we would have pin up for achieving omniscience with a summary of everything sort of contained in there. And then we have a pin up for subjugating reality. We have a pin up for identity ignition. We have a pin up for oscillatory life cycles, trial by fire Mark II, polarity paradoxes, obviously the one you just did, unrelenting discipline with the diagrams, and last but not least, the designing reality one, okay? So this is pretty cool because you can basically line these up on your wall and just constantly remind yourself of this mindset stuff, because trust me, you're going to forget some of this information and you need to be reminded more than you need to be taught. Okay, you've unlocked this new information, it's shiny, it's new, it's exciting. And I'll be frank, you don't really need much more in the way of psychology or mindset training beyond what you found in these videos. You really don't. The core main important thing is you don't forget. So pin these up. If you don't have a printer, go and buy one. It's like $30, $40. And trust me, it's well worth spending 30, 40, 50 bucks on never forgetting this stuff. Cost you a lot more than that if you forget. So go and buy a printer and print them off. If you already have a printer, fantastic. They look like this, and you can just basically blue tack them to your wall, bedroom wall, or pin them up, whatever. And yeah, it's pretty cool, because then you can have this sort of environment in your workspace or your bedroom where you're just surrounded by this knowledge constantly. And you might not even stop to read it, but from time to time, it's there and you'll remember it, and it's pretty cool, okay? Now, we're going to get into a few bits and pieces to do with goal setting here, because obviously, you know, at the forefront of this race to change your reality is your goal, and the main advocate for the initiation of this change is an objective, i.e. a goal. And so we're going to talk quickly about goal setting and a couple of things to bear in mind before we actually build this reality and try and map this goal onto a piece of paper or a vision board. It's crucial. So you now have a rough idea of what you want. And what I want you to do is just take a quick second right now to write down how much money you want to be making per month with your business. So this is just a brief action item. You probably already know this, but you know, just write it down right now. So you can write it down on your piece of paper. How much per month do you want to be making? If you haven't got a piece of paper in front of you, you should, because this is a lesson and you should be taking notes. But if you don't, you can just think of it in your head, okay? Now, I want you to do this. Now that you have your number in this head, I want you to resist the urge or temptation to do the following. Put a time frame on this goal. When most people set goals, specifically financially, they put a time frame on top of the goal. And they're told that goals need to be deadlined and time framed. You know, they hear about smart targets and all this corporate bullshit. This is fucking stupid. You can deadline projects or things you're working on, but you cannot deadline the outcomes of those projects or things you're working on. It's impossible to predict how long something is going to take, so don't bother. So what happens with a lot of people is they set their goal and they say, oh, I want to make 10K a month, and then they put by, and then they insert a month or a year. Or they say in the next, and then they insert a period of months. This is really fucking stupid. So when you think about your goal, I want you to think about it isolated away from any sort of time frame. We do not want to associate a time with this goal. Why? Well, if you do this and you put a time frame against your goal, you're going to do either of the following. Either you're going to undershoot the time frame, which means you're going to think it's going to take less time than it actually will. And this is the most common thing. This is when someone with no previous experience is like, you know, it's June now, and then they write down, yeah, I want to make 10K a month by September. It's like, brother, like, you're undershooting the time frame. Is that possible? Yeah. Is it likely? No. Right? Or they overshoot the time frame, which means they think it's going to take way longer than it will. Both of these are bad. Undershooting is bad, and you know, undershooting how much time you think it's going to take is really bad, because when the time rolls around that you thought you would have achieved the goal and you haven't achieved it, you get discouraged and quit. Your primary sole job with this business and with this growth that you're going to experience is just don't quit. If you don't quit, you cannot lose. If you don't quit, you cannot fail. It's impossible to fail if you're still going. But the main cause of failure is quitting, and the main cause of quitting is people thinking that they would have achieved what they wanted to achieve faster than they did. And so if you say, oh, I want to make 10K a month by September, then I can tell you right now that September's going to roll around and it's very likely that you haven't achieved what you want yet. What this does is it discourages you. You then push it back and say, oh, I'm going to have achieved it by December. And then you get to December and you still haven't achieved it for whatever reason. And what this does is every time that happens, you lose faith and trust in yourself. You lose faith and trust in the program and the information that has put you on this journey, and you quit and you get discouraged. Okay? A lot of people undershoot the time frame because they don't want to be in pain. Putting a short-term time frame on achieving your objective, it feels very immensely pleasurable. It feels very great because you're like, oh, I'm going to get this done real quick. And, you know, it's like soldiers going to war being like, oh, we'll be home by Christmas. Like, it's cope, it's delusion. It's just a way to make the pain go away, right? Overshooting is bad because you might actually be able to achieve the goal faster. So if you overshoot the target, it means you say, oh, I want to get 10K a month in the next 5 years, right? Well, it's probably going to happen faster than that. Because if you believe it's going to take ages, then you're going to delay your actions and procrastinate a lot so that your prediction can be right or accurate. So what happens to some people is they put this time frame that's way too long, and then they start working against that time frame. So if say right now you're starting from scratch and you want to get to 10K a month, and you say you're going to do it by in the next 3 years, you want to do it in 3 years' time. Well, now you're going to work really fucking slowly, and you're not going to try very hard because you've got 3 years to do it, which is quite a while to do it. Your goal is in effect a result of a ton of causes that you're putting into motion in this program. Now, between cause and effect, there is a gap of latency or delay. So if I do something, then it's going to take me a while, at least in business, to see the effect of having done that thing. And some cause to effect relationships are instantaneous. So if you sit in the sun for too long, then you'll be burned by the end of the day. So the cause is sitting in the sun and the effect is being burned, and the delay between sitting in the sun for too long and being burned is almost instantaneous. But when it comes to money and financial effects in business, things take time. And you're going to put causes into motion, like doing the mindset training, like setting your foundations, like picking your niche, like learning how to become an expert, like learning how to sell. And you're going to do that. And it's going to take you, it's going to take quite a while, sometimes up to a year or 2 years before you really see the true effects of those things. Okay. So it's literally impossible to predict how much time your goal is going to take to achieve. So you need to remove the idea of, I'll achieve it in the next 6 months, or I'll achieve it by June, or I'll achieve it by the time I graduate. People do this and they're in high school or college, and they're like, I'm going to have my first 5 clients, and I'm going to have this by the time I graduate. It's like, well, you're wrong, because either you're overshooting it or you're undershooting it, and both are absolutely perilous to your journey. So don't do it. The question is why? Because this challenges a lot of people and their understanding of goals. Isn't it a good idea to set a clear deadline and to rush to get this done as soon as possible? Like, I know what you're thinking, like, oh, but Charlie, like, surely if I have a goal, I want to have like a target for when I hit that goal. It's like, well, that's what most people think. And as you can probably tell, most people aren't very good at achieving their goals. And a lot of people would say to me, isn't optimism and positive thinking supposed to be the secret of success? Like, aren't we supposed to think that we can do this in no time flat? Well, if this is the question, here's the answer. Isn't optimism and positive thinking supposed to be the secret of success? No, you fucking idiot. And that's a quote from James Stockdale. Now, he didn't actually quote that. I thought it would just be somewhat satirical to pretend that he did. And you probably don't know who this guy is, so I'm going to explain who he is, and you're going to like it. James Stockdale was an American pilot in the Vietnamese War, and he got his plane shot down just over, I think, west of Hanoi, the capital, Hanoi, capital of Vietnam. And his plane gets shot down, and he's like, shit, and he has to pop his parachute, and he's parachuting down, and as he's parachuting down, fucking sick quote this, he says to himself, I'm leaving the world of technology and entering the world of Epictetus. Now, we don't have to figure out what that quote means because it's a little abstract and it's not relevant to this training, but brownie points for those of you that know what that means. Now, what James Stockdale basically did is he lands on the floor and he's picked up by the Vietnamese soldiers. And I can tell you that the Vietnamese soldiers, they didn't really like the American soldiers, as most soldiers do not like other soldiers in war. And James Stockdale was held as a prisoner of war in a Vietnamese war camp outside of Hanoi. He was tortured maliciously. He was starved. He was beaten. He was put in leg locks for months on end. He was isolated from all social contact. And it was a pretty bad time for him and for anybody else, as I'm sure you can imagine. And all of that was summarized by a lesson that he learned. When he came back, he was released in the end, and he lived to tell the tale. Whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing is up to you. And he came out with a book and some information about his experience. And he summarized his experience with this quote: "The optimists die first." And this is a really interesting idea because, here's someone who has been in probably what most people would deem hell on earth, in one of the most hopeless situations that could be imagined by a human, right? Being held as a prisoner of war and tortured by the Vietnamese during the war. And he said the optimists die first. And this is an interesting idea because it challenges society's current paradigm and belief systems about optimism and pessimism. And what does this mean? Because there's something called the Stockdale paradox, which is basically named after James Stockdale. The Stockdale paradox states that the optimists die first. It implies that having too much faith, confidence, or optimism in your ability to achieve a goal, or withstand suffering in his case, leads to a lack of achievement or death. This is a paradox because most people think that you need to have extreme optimism and confidence and faith and belief to achieve your goals. So this is really paradoxical because everyone talks about having self-belief, and we've talked about this in the mindset training. But Stockdale figured out this was the otherwise case. And basically, what happened is this also happened in Auschwitz as well with a guy called Viktor E. Frankl. So Viktor E. Frankl was a Jew, and he was put in one of the I think it was Auschwitz, or one of the concentration camps from the Nazis in the 40s. Bad time to be a Jew, right? Not a good time to be a person of that religious faith. And as I'm sure you're aware, the conditions of Auschwitz were awful. And basically, Viktor E. Frankl saw the same phenomenon unfold as Stockdale. So there's these, whether you're a soldier or a Jewish person or put in these situations, what Viktor E. Frankl found is that the Jews in the concentration camps who had the highest levels of optimism, i.e. thought they were getting out soon, were the most likely to die, i.e. the optimists die first. So let me explain. So for James Stockdale's example, he observed lots of other soldiers, and what he found is the soldiers who thought they were going to be rescued soon were the soldiers that gave up and quit and died. And in Auschwitz, Viktor E. Frankl found, and he wrote a book on this called Man's Search for Meaning, it's a great book, he found that the prisoners in the concentration camps who thought that they were going to be liberated soon died. They were the ones who died first. And what Viktor E. Frankl basically, if I summarize what he said, is it's kind of like optimism was the main cause of death behind starvation, behind hydration, behind exhaustion. Optimism was the main cause of death. And that was basically because what would happen, imagine you're in Auschwitz or a prisoner of war camp, and you have hope and you have faith and you really, really want to get out of there. So you cope yourself into believing that you're going to be out in the next month or two. This is what a lot of people truly believe. Like, it's amazing where the brain goes and how heavily you'll try and comfort yourself to deal with this. It's like a short-term painkiller, right? And so, anyone can maybe deal with the stress of a prisoner of war camp for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. I mean, it won't be pleasant, it won't be horrible, it'll be the worst thing ever. But, if you think you're getting out of there pretty soon, you can deal with that, right? And basically what happens is when you think you're going to be rescued and when you think you're going to achieve what you want to achieve, i.e. get out or, in our case, achieve a goal quickly, then you die. Because what happens is you don't get out quickly. And so if you're sent to Auschwitz and you think, right, I'll be out of here in a couple of months, it's all right. The USA are going to invade Germany. It's going to be liberated. War's going to be over in a couple of months anyway. It's fine. I'll just tank it out, right? That's what you think. Well, a couple of months is going to roll around and you're still not liberated. And you're like, oh shit, okay, well, it must just be a couple more weeks. And then a couple of weeks roll around and you're still not liberated. And this is crushing. Because what starts to happen is you just lose your hope and you lose your faith. Why? Because you were too optimistic. Not about being rescued, but about the time frame to which you were. So it's not about, you need to have faith in the fact that you can be rescued, but not put a time frame on it. And it's the same thing with business and goals and financial outcomes, right? Obviously, there's a bit of a stark contrast, but have faith in the fact and belief in the fact and hope in the fact that you will achieve your goal, but remove the time frame. Because if you add a time frame, you're going to miss it. It's going to discourage you. You're going to quit. And quitting, the equivalent of quitting in these war scenarios is literal death. Like Viktor E. Frankl says as in Man's Search for Meaning, that the people that, thought they were going to get out soon, like they didn't, and they just died because they lost faith. And the loss of faith and the loss of hope was the cause for death because the body just started shutting down, their minds just shut down. And Viktor Frankl said, I knew when someone was going to die because they smoked their last cigarette. And what that basically meant is, sometimes the Jewish people were given cigarettes or maybe it was bread or something, but they were given something that would be, conducive to some sort of instantaneous pleasure, right? And, Viktor Frankl observed this, like that the people that were about to give up and, just roll over and die and just admit defeat were the ones who were like, right, well, we're clearly not being rescued. You just lose hope and lose faith. So all that to say, the optimists die first. Don't be a fucking idiot. Don't put a time frame on your goal. Okay. Pretty simple. So we've kind of just done all of this here. Over optimism. We don't want to have over optimism. Imperative success, you release this time bias, etc., etc. So, you know, you can achieve what you want to achieve, and you can manifest this reality, but it's not going to happen as soon as you want. Okay. So yeah, now a few expectations here, exceptions. With the right mentorship, yes, it's possible to speed up your goal. For example, having this program is going to speed up your objectives. Having Easy Grow will speed up your objective tenfold. So, you know, like I took Imperium from 0 to 100K a month in 11 months, right? But my business partner and I had a collective 10 months of business experience, right? I scaled my first agency from 0 to 10K a month in 6 months. But prior to starting, I had 6 months of cold calling experience. I'd read 100 books on sales and digital marketing. And I'd also sought out some multi-7-figure mentors who helped me. So like my point here is when you look at my success and how rapidly I rose to the success and the heights that I did, like I went from 0 to $1 million a month in like 3-4 years. It's fucking unheard of. But it's only because I had done so much legwork before. So all of this to say, remove the time frame. Don't expect that it's going to take a certain amount of time because you will just quit. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just trying to ground you in the reality that basically will happen when you don't get discouraged. So you don't get discouraged, right? There's a big difference between how long something is going to take and how long you want it to take. The solution is that you need to act every day and attack the day with as much fury as you can, as if you're trying to hit the goal tomorrow, but with the patience and understanding it might take years to unfold. So the way that I handle timeframes and goals is I will do as much as I can today as if I'm trying to achieve my goal tomorrow. So I'm impatient in the day, but patient in the year. And what that means is like every day for me, I'm like desperately clawing, like working as much as I can to try and achieve my goal. But when tomorrow rolls around, I'm not surprised that I haven't hit it yet, if that makes sense. And here's a solution from a page that I ripped out of a book 10 years ago. And I've kept this in my wallet for 10 years. 10 years ago, I was 16, 17, and I read a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And I read this page, and I've transcribed it here. And I ripped it out, as you can see, and I circled a bunch of stuff. And this kind of summarizes this whole idea of do as much as you can today. And the secret to becoming successful is just as much as you can today without the expectation that you're going to get everything you want tomorrow, right? So this is my wallet. It's literally in my wallet, in my safe, in my house. And I was making this module and I thought, oh, I'll just go and dig that old chestnut out. And yeah, you can see it's a bit beat up. But if there is something that may be done today and you do not do it, you have failed insofar as that thing is concerned. And the consequences may be more disastrous than you can imagine. You cannot foresee the results of even the most trivial act. You do not know the workings of all the forces that have been set moving on your behalf. Much may be depending on your doing some simple act. It may be the very thing which is to open the door of opportunity to very great possibilities. You can never know with all the combinations with which supreme intelligence is making for you in the world of things and of human affairs. Your neglect or failure to do some small thing may cause a long delay in getting what you want. Do every day all that can be done that day. There is, however, a limitation or qualification to the above that you must take into account. You are not to overwork nor rush blindly into your business in the effort that you do the greatest possible number of things in the shortest possible time. If you are not to do tomorrow's work today, nor a week's work in one day. It is really not the number of things you do, but the efficient action of each separate action that counts. Every act in itself is a success or a failure. Every act in itself is either effective or inefficient. Every inefficient act is a failure. And if you spend your life doing inefficient acts, then your whole life will be a failure. The more things you do, the worse for you if all your acts are inefficient ones. On the other hand, every efficient act is a success itself. And if every act of your life is an efficient one, then your whole life must be a success. The cause of failure is doing too many things in an inefficient manner and not doing enough things in an efficient manner. You will see a self-evident proposition that if you do not do any inefficient acts, and if you do a sufficient number of efficient acts, you will become rich. If now it is possible for you to make each act an efficient one, you see again that the getting of riches is reduced to an exact science like mathematics. The matter turns onto the questions of whether you can make each separate act a success itself, and this certainly you can do. Do all you can today, for you cannot foresee the long-term time-based effects of doing so. So basically what this means, and I think I might be zoomed in here. Sorry about that, guys. I've been zoomed in this whole video. Doesn't matter. What the point of this little document is be patient. So, this whole idea here, there's a limitation. You don't want to do tomorrow's work today. This is the whole rest thing, right? Not being overly disciplined, not doing too much, etc., etc. But yeah, what I'd suggest you do is maybe just go back in the video a little bit and just listen to that passage again, because I've read this thing hundreds of times and it takes a minute or two to properly understand what it actually means. But I felt like it was relevant to be here at the end of the mindset training for this. This page has had a pretty big impact on my life over the last 10 years, okay? So reverse engineered plan. So in order to achieve your goal, we need to plan. This program gives you everything you need, but we need to break down your actions into a nice and neat, tidy, easy to follow step-by-step list for you to execute on. Success is never going to be this simple. It's never going to be this linear, easy thing, but we can get as close to pure simplicity as possible. So first of all, you should be tracking all of your progress with the Imperium Academy roadmap checklist that I produced for you in week 1. So at this point, you've understood your fundamentals, picked a niche, conducted research, or you're probably still doing this. You're building your avatar, you found a problem, you validated a problem. You might not have done these things yet, right? But you're working on it. You've created an offer, you've done your basic company setup, and now you fix your mindset. So you might have, probably what was funny is when you saw the whole fixed mindset thing in week 1, you were like, I don't need to fix my mindset, but now you realize, oh shit, I do. And so, we're now going to move on to becoming an expert, learning sales, writing a script, building appointment booking systems and such, and obviously all the way through to the end. And basically, this is as simple as the plan gets. These are the major action items that you need to complete efficiently and effectively to achieve your objective. But we can take this one step further, because what we can actually start doing is reverse engineering your goal. Now, this is something that we talk a little bit more about in Easy Grow, and this is quite a advanced high-level business strategy that we're going to touch briefly on here. But this is pretty cool. The best place to start when it comes to trying to achieve your goal is at the end. We can invert your goal, i.e. flip it on its head, to see the exact daily inputs required to achieve it. This will make things 10 times clearer and make the achievement of your goal seem way more possible, reasonable, and straightforward, obviously thus leading you to working harder and longer. So I've got this little document for you here where we can reverse engineer your goal. And what we can do with this little resource here is basically understand exactly what you need to do in the day to make this goal happen, because business is numbers. It's a collection of numbers, right? And so if you think about what you want, you might want to make 10K a month, right? Or you might want to make 5K a month or 50K a month. That's a number, and that means that number is comprised of other numbers. And all you have to do is figure out how to do the numbers. So this is going to blow you away. You're going to love this. Right, so make a copy of this document. I want you to do it right now. It's an action item to do with me on the screen here. And let's get into it. So what I want you to do is define your goal. So state it below. So it could be like 10K a month, right? Then you state the value of your client based on your pricing. Now, you won't know this exactly to be sure just yet, unless you've already been in business for a while. But if you want to charge, 3K for a coaching client, then your value is going to be 3K. If you're doing a service and you want to charge $1,000 a month and you want to keep your clients for 3-4 months, then your value of a client is 3 to 4K. Your value of a client could be 10K, it could be 20K, it could be 2K, it could be 3K, it could be 8K, whatever, right? But try and just write a rough average here. Then you want to state your sales metrics. So your sales conversion rate, your good fit rate, and your show rate. Now, you won't know any of these unless you've been doing sales before. So for now, you can just use 15%, 70%, and 70%. If you use the Easy Grow systems, your show rate and good fit rate will be in the higher percentiles, and your sales conversion rate, if you use the Easy Grow sales training, which is far more advanced, will be likely to be like 25, 30, 40%. But we're being pessimistic with the systems we've got here. Okay, so your conversion rate will be 15%, GFR and SUR is 70%. Now, none of this will mean anything to you at the moment. Show up rate is how many people show up for the call that they book. So when you come to acquire clients, you need to conduct sales calls, and you need to spend an hour on the phone with people trying to convince them to buy your stuff. And what's going to happen is you're going to schedule a call with people, and sometimes they're not going to show up to that call. So if you book 100 calls and 70 people show up to the call, then you have a show up rate of 70%. Your good fit rate, or your GFR, is the percentage chance of your prospects being a good fit that you can pitch. So let's say that 100 people show up to your calls, maybe only 50 of them actually resemble a fit for your product in terms of being in your niche or being qualified to purchase. And your sales conversion rate is what is the percentage chance of the prospect actually closing. So what's your conversion rate? So if you conduct 100 calls and you close 23 of them, then your conversion rate on your sales process is 23%. So you can put these in here. I told you this is a bit advanced, but these are terms that you're not going to be familiar with yet because we haven't even gotten into the acquisition game. And really EasyGrow is the place that you're going to go to do that anyway eventually, but I'm just giving you a little taster. Now, the systems in EasyGrow can give you much higher SDRs, GFRs, and SURs, whatever, right? Now, the next thing to do is state your appointment booking metrics. Once again, like this is, I know that this is going to seem like, what the fuck, I don't know what an appointment booking metric is because, well, you haven't been through EasyGrow and you haven't learned client acquisition yet, so that's fine, but just bear with me. So what you want to do is list your appointment booking systems below. And if you don't have this, you can just wait till you do and then come back to do this, okay? So for example, system name could be like cold email and your conversion rate could be like 1%. So what this would mean is maybe you're using cold email to book appointments. So an appointment, remember, is a sales conversation. It's someone in your niche that you've reached out to or who has reached out to you agreeing to have a call with you to discuss your product to potentially buy it. That's an appointment, okay? And to get appointments, you have to use different systems. So for example, you can use cold email, you can use cold calling, you can use cold DMs, you can use content, you can use ads, you can use referrals. There's a lot of ways to get appointments and they're all explained in EasyGrow, right? But you have something called an appointment booking rate, which means that if you spoke to 100 people using this method, what percentage of them would book? So for example, in EasyGrow, we have a system called the Terminator Loom system. And if you sent 100 emails via Terminator Looms, you might book 15 appointments, right? Which would be a 15% appointment booking rate. So once you've done this, what we can do is we can reverse engineer the numbers. So once again, this is a little bit more advanced. This is kind of like multi-6, 7-figure business shit, okay? And I'm just giving you a taste here of what it's like to be at the upper echelon of business knowledge. But what you can do is you can reverse engineer the numbers. So you take your dollar goal, which is how much money you want to make, and you divide that by your client value, which gives you how many clients you need to sign to achieve that goal. So if your goal is to make 100K and each client is worth 10K, then would you know that you need 10 clients? Then what you do is you divide your clients required by your sales conversion rate to get how many good fit calls you need. And then you do the same thing by your GFR, SUR, and ABR. And basically what you can do is if you use this equation properly, is you can basically take outreach volume required, which is how much outreach you'd need to do, and divide that by how many days you have to achieve your goal to get your daily activity. So instead of giving you abstractions, let me give you an example. So I know that I said you shouldn't put time frames on goals, but for the sake of this exercise, you kind of have to, right? So this is more of a pragmatic thing. It's not set in stone. But let's say that you want to make 240K in 12 months, okay? Once again, we're not getting attached to the 12 months. We're just using this to understand how many daily actions we'd need to take over the course of 12 months to make this money, right? It's a practical thing. So let's say you want to make 240K in 12 months, in the next 12 months. Let's say your client value is $6,000. Your sales conversion rate is 20%. Your good fit rate is 80%. Your chirp rate is 82.5%. And your appointment booking rate is 2.5% on cold looms, for example. So what this basically means, this is really simple, okay? So if you take 240K, which is how much you want to make, and you divide it by 6K, which is your average client value, then that means that in the next 12 months, you need to get 40 clients. Because 40 times 6 is 240. And this is interesting because, well, how do we get clients? Well, we have to close them. So what you would do is you take 40, which is how many clients you need, and divide it by 0.20, which is 20%. And that shows you how many good fit calls you'd need because your conversion rate on sales calls is 20%. So what is 40 20% of? Well, 200. Which means that in order for you to make 240K, you need 40 clients. And to get 40 clients, you need 200 good fit calls that you've spoken to. But then we have to account for your show rate, as in how many people show up. So our show rate is, let me just do this. Your good fit rate. So we need good fit calls, 250 of those. Then we take that 250 and divide it by 0.825, which is our show rate, and we get 303 bookings. So basically what this means is in order for us to get 40 clients, we need 200 good fit calls. In order for us to get 200 good fit calls, we need 250 show ups because our good fit rate is 80%, right? And 80% of 250 is 200. And then in order for us to get these show ups, we need 303 bookings. And in order for us to get these bookings, we need to send 12,120 emails. Because if we need 303 bookings and our appointment booking rate is 2.5%, then we need to find out what is this number 0.25% of, or sorry, 2.5% of. And so what this basically looks like is this. We have 12 months, which is 365 days. We take weekends off for whatever reason, and we take 14 days off for Christmas, which means that over the course of the next 12 months, you'd have 247 days to achieve your goal. And so if we take the amount of emails required to book this amount of calls, to get this amount of show-ups, to get this amount of good fit calls, to get this amount of clients to make this money, we would need to send 49 emails per day. Because we have to send 12,120 emails to get the bookings, to get the shows, to get the good fit calls, to get the clients. And so if we take this amount of emails and divide it by how many days we have, then we get 49. And what that means is that with these metrics here, all you have to do is send 49 cold emails per day and you'll make 240K in 1 year. This is business. Business is a collection of numbers. These goals you've got, these financial goals, they're just a collection of conversion rates. And if you know how to get these conversion rates up, which is what we teach you in Easy Grow, right, with sales conversion rates and good fit rates and show rates and appointment booking rates, if you can get those things nice and high, which is quite a challenge on your own, it's tough to do that on your own if you haven't got the knowledge, then all you've got to do is just do the work. And really for this person with these metrics, literally all they have to do is send 49 emails a day. That's like, let's say they're working even if they work 5 hours a day, all they've got to do is send 10 emails an hour and then do the sales calls. And then bang, they're at 240K. Obviously, there's a little bit more to it than that, but this is the simplicity of it. That's how it works. So what you can do is you can do it yourself, okay? You can make a copy of this, which you should have already done. You want to be pessimistic with your numbers. So you take the amount of money you want to make, you divide it by the average value of your client to figure out how many clients you need. You then divide how many clients you need by your good fit rate, which should be 80%. Then you divide that by your show rate, which should once again be 60-70%. Then you divide that number by the amount of booking, by the conversion rate, right, that we've got here, the SHRP rate. So we get the amount of bookings you need, and then we take that number and we divide it by your conversion rate on your outbound, which could be cold emails, cold calls, cold emails. Now, once again, this is going to seem a little confusing to you because you're like, what the fuck? I haven't even done any of this yet. And that's fine. This won't make as much sense to you now as it will once you've been through later modules and Easy Grow as well. But the point I'm making here is this might not make total sense now, but what you can do is you can reduce your goal down to a simple daily action, okay? Won't seem like it makes much sense now, but you can come and revisit this once you've been through the later modules and you'll be like, oh shit. And then all you have to do is just do that little action every day with that level of volume for that time frame. And before you know it, bang, you've made the money, okay? So that's just reverse engineering the goal. Once again, I know it's a little advanced, bit of a what the fuck, Charlie, that doesn't make any sense right now. That's fine, just bear with me. And as you go through everything else, it'll become clear, okay? But some of you will be able to figure it out pretty quickly. I'm sure you can, okay? So let's quickly recap belief systems, because what we're about to do is I'm going to shake your world. I'm going to give you a little exercise and a little idea that you can start doing every single day to completely rewire your brain and change your belief systems forever. But to do that, I need to make sure that you remember what we talked about. So I know we've already covered these, but it's crucially important before we get into the next part of the video, because the next part of this video, at the end of this mindset training, is the most important part of the mindset training. What we're about to round this off with is the most important part. So you'll remember we have these nice little summaries from achieving omniscience and subjugating reality. So we're going to run through them. And before you roll your eyes and skip forward and be annoyed, because we've talked about this a lot, you cannot repeat this stuff enough, all right? You need to remember it. So as we remember, reality is the sum of everything that exists, and it exists in two forms, the objective and the subjective. Reality is made up of components which are broken into the intangible and tangible. Humans observe reality using their 5 senses and their imagination, and they do that over 3 dimensions of time: past, reality, present, and future. Because reality has 2 forms, intangible and tangible, and 3 time frames, there are 6 dimensions of reality, being the tangible past, tangible present, and tangible future, and the intangible past, intangible present, and intangible future. When someone observes any of these 6 dimensions using their senses or their imagination, an experience is created, and all experiences are subjective. These observations or these experiences are made through a paradigm, which is basically broken into your worldview and your identity. Your worldview and identity are basically just a collection of your belief systems, and there are 3 types of belief: knowledge, judgment, and self-image. Okay, so your worldview is a collection of your knowledge and judgment beliefs, and your identity is the aggregate of all of your self-image beliefs and what you believe to be true about yourself. To form an identity around something, you must first judge it, and to judge it, you must first know it exists. So typically, when we make an observation, there is a linear chain of hierarchy of beliefs where we look at something, we know it exists, and therefore we form a knowledge-based belief that it's there, then we judge it, then we identify with it in some way. Here's what your paradigm looks like. Beliefs form through experiences. When you experience something, you create beliefs about that experience, obviously. Everyone has a paradigm, and it's different for every single person. No 2 paradigms are the same. Your reality can be laddered down or up by the following chain of logic. So your subjective life or reality is the product of your actions, and your actions are the product of your decisions. Your decisions are the product of your perceived options. Your perceived options are the product of your thoughts. Your thoughts come from or are biased by your paradigm. Your paradigm comes from your beliefs, and your beliefs come from your experiences, which means that your reality comes from your experiences. Your thoughts come from your paradigm in the same way that a star would emit energy. Experiences shape your beliefs and take 3 forms: either an initial experience, i.e. the first experience of something, so we're forming something from the beginning, or they confirm or deny what we believe to be true in the current moment. Every single belief you hold came from an initial experience and was likely confirmed by confirming experiences. Now, beliefs bias you. Your perception of future experiences and events in your life are biased by them. And that means that you can have these key cornerstone beliefs about certain components of reality that will sort of fractalize into, all the other components of life. So if you fundamentally believe money is great, then all the other things that you observe in reality associated with money are going to be filtered through that paradigm, and your paradigm will unfold in that way. Your subjective reality is the sum of your experiences. In the same way that a movie is a collection of a lot of frames, a movie doesn't move. It's just like a bunch of pictures strung together in a really high frame rate. And a novel is a collection of letters. Your life is a collection of experiences. Your reality is a very fucking high frame rate movie that is just playing one experience after the other, just like this. Now, your paradigm is preloaded with 2 biases or 2 sources of bias: your psychological and genetic biases. Initial experiences start the formation of belief, and they come from your environment. So in order for us to have an experience, the experience either comes from our physical environment or our imaginary environment. Your imaginary environment, or experiences rather, are the product of the synthesis of physical ones. Experiences form beliefs which form your subjective reality, and the way we create imaginary experiences is by first referencing against our physical experiences in the first place. And so your beliefs or your subjective reality or your worldview or paradigm is produced by you, and you receive experiences from the physical environment or the imaginary environment, but the imagination cannot happen without first having observed it in the physical. Beliefs can be seen as a scale of true or false, and they're not binary. It's not true or false. It's either how true or how false. But not how true or how false. It's how much do you believe it to be true or how false do you believe it to be true. They have strength or weakness on a scale of intensity. Confirming experiences make beliefs stronger, and denying experiences make beliefs weaker. After an initial experience, every experience either confirms or denies the belief you have. Experiences are like rocks that we stack on the scales every time we have one. So, if you believe something to be true and you receive an experience that confirms that, then you're going to stack a rock in that scale and confirm the truth and believe it with more intensity. Some experiences are stronger than others, and the more emotional an experience, the stronger it is and the bigger the rock. All beliefs exist parallel to their opposite and are paired accordingly. So we have pairs of beliefs. So if you believe money is really hard to make, then you will not believe that money is really easy to make. And every time you have a confirming experience on this side, you have a denying experience on the other. It's impossible to confirm a belief without denying the opposite, and it's impossible to deny an existing belief without confirming the opposite thing. Beliefs feed back on themselves by creating confirming experiences. So when you believe something to be true, you start to confirm it by having new experiences that reinforce it. And this is called a positive feedback loop or amplification, where you have a belief, like money is really hard to make, and then you act that belief out, and because of your action, you create a new experience. And that's kind of how this whole thing goes. It's like, oh, I think money's hard to make, so I'm just gonna like moan about it a lot and like not try, and so I'm gonna have an experience that I have no money, which must mean that money's hard to make, and it feeds back. Now, beliefs have utility because they provide efficiency to the brain. Remember, the reason beliefs exist in the first place is because your brain's not that big, in contrast to the amount of information it stores. The brain craves efficiency. So beliefs basically bundle up experiences and they stop us from having to remember everything. Everyone has firm beliefs but no idea where they come from because they simply forgot. And so over time, your memory of how your belief formed wanes away, but the effect of you believing that belief becomes exponentially drastic. Beliefs are how we map reality. So, you can imagine that life is a big journey from A to Z. And the way that you make this journey is by using your belief systems to make your decisions on what actions or turns to take. Right now, you're alive, which means that your beliefs give you survival. And this is all the brain cares about at a base level. So you continue to act out your beliefs without even thinking about it because your brain knows that you're safe. Your paradigm can be mapped like this. So if you wanted to, you could take every single belief system you have about everything in the world and put it into a nice, neat little Venn diagram below. You could sort those beliefs according to knowledge, judgments, and self-image, and then you could basically see your entire paradigm, which is just a massive collection of belief systems. And this is basically your subjective reality. Reality is what you believe it to be. It is as simple as that, and that is how reality manifests to you, and you could observe it like this diagram. Your paradigm exists on many levels. We have the macro and the micro paradigm. Certain components of reality have more beliefs and take up more space. So if you're obsessed with one specific component of reality, then you will have more belief systems associated with that thing, which means that you'll be biased to see the world through that lens. In the way that I've explained below, if someone spent a lot of time studying Socrates in ancient Greece, and they've spent like 3 years studying Socrates, then that means they will have what we would call a Socratic lens. In the same way that if someone spent, 30 years as a football journalist, and that was their career, then they're going to have more beliefs about football and journalism than anything else on the planet, which means they will naturally see the world through a football journalism lens. These components of reality dominate the paradigm of the individual. This all depends on what experiences you've had and what you've studied. So if you've been a drug addict for 5 years and you're only 25, then that means that 20% of your life you've been obsessed with these things, and all of your paradigm and beliefs are going to be taken up by drugs and your experiences with drugs, and your belief system and how that works will be basically biased through drugs. And you'll see the world as a drug addict, right? And your self-image and your judgments and your knowledge will all be because of drugs. And you'll basically, every time you have a new experience, it will be filtered through this paradigm and this lens, which will usually create new experiences, which can be quite dangerous. Some beliefs are right and some beliefs are wrong, depending on alignment. So if a belief is wrong, then it means it's not aligned with reality. But there's two types of alignment, okay? We have factual alignment, which is when what you believe is actually in alignment with the indisputable truth. And we have goal alignment, which is when what you believe is in alignment with what you want to achieve. So if you want to become rich and become successful, and you fundamentally believe that making money is hard, then that belief is wrong as far as goal alignment goes, okay? Now, if factual alignment, if I believe that Barack Obama was still the US president, then I would be wrong because Trump is the current US president, right? And so I would be out of factual alignment. In the same way that if I thought that the earth was flat, then I would be out of factual alignment. That's my belief, by the way, in case you're wondering about the state of the spherical nature of the earth. You might disagree. See overleaf for diagrams on alignment. So, we have this gap between our subjective and objective knowledge. So when it comes to factual alignment, we want to be right as often as possible, which means that what we observe is actually objectively there. And then we also have our goal alignment. So we want factual alignment because we want to be able to make decisions in alignment with the objective true nature of the world. Because if I tell you that chicken breast is moldy and you say, no, it's not, and the chicken breast is moldy, then you're going to eat that chicken breast and you're going to get food poisoning because your belief about the moldiness of that chicken breast was not in alignment with the true objective nature of the chicken breast, right? That's an example. But then we also have goal alignment here, where you have your current judgment beliefs and your current self-image beliefs, and then you have your goal. And your goal reality has conditional judgment beliefs and conditional self-image beliefs, which means, hey, if I believe these self-image things and if I believe these judgment things, then I would basically start acting out actions that would help me achieve my goal. And so what you want to do is you want to look at your current judgment beliefs and your current self-image beliefs and start trying to line those up with what you would need to believe to be true to start acting things out and orienting yourself in the world as if your goal was going to be real. So if you need to believe that making money is easy, and right now you believe making money is hard, well, if you start believing making money is easy, then you'll start acting that out, and before you know it, making money will actually be easy. Okay? And there's obviously some latency between these two things aligning. So what will start happening is there's this weird delusion period where you're going to basically believe a lie. So you're going to start telling yourself making money is easy, and you're going to start to believe it, but it won't be easy for a bit because your actions have to catch up. And there's latency, there's lag behind believing something to be true and that thing coming true. Okay, so you have to sit in this weird state of delusion for a while in order for your current reality to match up with your goal reality, because there is latency and delay between cause and effect. So if you start believing now that it's possible to be successful and you start acting that out, you start working really hard, you start believing in yourself, you start trying really hard, or you shouldn't believe in yourself, you should believe in your becoming self, right? But you start doing all these things, it might take you a few months before you start getting a client or before you start making money. And you have to be in this state of delusion for a while before your current reality starts to align up with your goal reality, because there is latency and delay between cause and effect. So remember, imaginary experiences carry the same weight in our brains as sensory ones. So the key to this whole thing is your experiences. The whole nexus of this mindset module is all about belief systems and how your identity forms and how your paradigm forms and how your actions. The main point of this mindset training is for me to get you to act properly. It's for me to get you to actually do the fucking work. That is the only reason I've put 6 months of my life into these last 7 or 8 videos. It's to get you to do the work. But you won't do the work if you don't believe it's worth doing or you don't believe you can. And you won't believe you can, and you won't believe it's worth doing if you don't have experiences that solidify that. And so the whole core idea to this mindset training is getting you to do the work, but in order for you to do that, you have to have experiences that you can form beliefs around first, okay? And I'll explain this. So remember, you can have experiences using your 5 senses. So, if you see someone crossing the road, then you've experienced someone crossing the road. If you hear a new Drake song, then you've experienced that new Drake song and you'll form your opinion on it, right? And your belief systems around it. If you eat a pizza, then you've experienced that pizza. But in conjunction with our 5 senses, we also have our imagination. And our imagination is our memory and our ability to shut our eyes and visualize things, right? And this is pretty cool because you can also form experiences in your imagination. And your brain fundamentally cannot tell the difference between an imaginary experience and a sensory one. So there's so much proof that this happens in psychology, whether it's the placebo effect, the hot rod experiment. There's so many examples of this where I can give you an example. A while ago, a bunch of scientists, they took a man into a room and they made him take his top off. Well, they asked him to take his top off. I'm pretty sure it was a voluntary experiment. And what they did is they said to this guy, hey, okay, so look at this. And they had this really hot iron rod, this branding thing, this hot iron rod, boiling hot, just come out of a big fire. You could see it glowing. And they said, what we're going to do is we're going to turn around. We're going to put this close to your back. And he was like, okay. And they were like, we're not actually going to poke you with it. We just want to see if you can feel it, from afar. And so the scientists, they kind of get close and close and close and close and close. And that, can you feel it? Can you feel it? And the guy's like, yep, I can feel it. And they're like, okay, no worries. And then what the scientists do in a state of what might be considered unethicalness is they quickly switch out the hot rod and they get an ice cube and they press it against the guy's back. And so this guy has had an ice cube pressed against his back, but he is genuinely convinced in his imagination that he has just had a boiling hot metal rod pressed against the small of his back. And he reacts accordingly. He screams, he riffs, and then what's interesting is his skin blisters. His body reacts as if he's actually been burned, which is insane. And there's actually science on this. It's the dude genuinely thinks he's been burned, and so does his body. And maybe not as bad as if it had actually happened, right? But needless to say, imaginary experiences are very, very, very effective. And a lot of people have this as well, where they have dreams that become incredibly consequential on their life. And there's countless examples of the placebo effect, where people take pills and they don't think they don't know that the pills aren't real, but they still go on to fix the problem, whatever, right? So your imagination's OP, and you can basically create experiences using your imagination, and we also use our memory as well. So when you have an experience when you're younger, that experience will inform your belief systems, but you can reinforce that belief system by remembering the same thing over and over again. And so one thing that I did when I was younger is I went to school and I was really bad at drawing. And my teacher told me in front of the whole class that I was bad at drawing and that my sister was better. And it was really embarrassing. And I replayed that over and over and over again. And now, lo and behold, I can't draw. That's my belief system. I believe I cannot draw, right? It's hilarious. And the only reason that is true is because of not because of one single one-off little experience that happened all that time ago, but it's because I continuously replayed it in my mind over and over again. And you can use this to your advantage. So when you have something good happen to you that would allow you to reinforce a new belief system to do with money or finance or business success, you can start to recall it and remember it. And so what I used to do is, if I had a good sales call, I would recall that close, I would listen back to it, and I would replay it, and I would constantly replay that experience in my mind using my imagination. And it's pretty cool. So you can have experiences in your mind either by remembering and recreating what you already experienced, or by literally just dreaming up a brand new scenario, and you can force that to register on an emotional level as if it happened in real life. If you don't believe me, go and watch a scary movie, or fucking go into wait till it's nighttime in your house and just dangle your arm over the edge of your bed and just see what your brain does. Or, open up a door, like in a really dark alleyway somewhere that you can't see anything, like a really dark basement room, and just stick your whole arm in there and just see what your brain starts to do and how freaked out you get and scared you get. Like, you've had nightmares before, and you wake up and you're in a cold sweat and your body's heart's beating, you're in fight or flight, you're terrified, as if it was real. Imaginary experiences can have just as much weight on your belief systems and can register just as well as physical proper ones, okay? So yeah, we've got these examples here. It doesn't matter what is true, only what you believe is true, because with work that will become true. So here's a little quote and graph from my mentor Sam again. It doesn't matter what is true, only what you believe is true, because with work that will become true. So basically, you have a belief about who you're becoming, and what will happen is, if you really believe that, you'll start acting it out, and you'll start taking action in accordance with that belief, and then that will confirm your new becoming self, and you'll start experiencing a new reality. And what will happen is that new reality will basically give you feedback to adjust your beliefs and actions accordingly and reinforce the belief. And so you can intervene here by changing your thoughts and beliefs, by recreating or by dreaming up imaginary scenarios that reinforce positive belief systems. And you might remember this from oscillatory life cycles, where, the reason we're changing our beliefs is to change our behavior, our actions and decisions. You might feel like you're lying to yourself at the start, and that's totally normal. So I'm going to show you how to create these experiences, and I'm going to basically show you how to delude yourself. And it's going to feel weird because you feel like you're lying, but it's normal, because what will happen with time is you'll start acting out the lies, and they'll start to become the truth. So a lie becomes the truth if it's acted out. When it comes to this stuff, perception is truly reality. And you basically delude yourself into becoming successful. Girls use this phrase that Delulu is the Salulu. And I don't think that has as much merit as they might credit, but they're along the right lines, bless them. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, I can't tell you that, but what comes first, the belief or the behavior? Well, it's the belief, because you will not behave in a way that is incongruent with your belief systems. So here's how it goes. This is what we're going to do. You tell yourself a blatant lie. Like, I believe I'm a millionaire. I find it easy to make money. And then you believe something could happen. Like, maybe it's actually possible to do that, maybe. And then you start behaving like it could happen. Like, I'll start watching courses and working. And then what will happen is, because you behaved like it could, it does. Like, shit, I'm making money. So, here's the thing, right? Fundamentally, you believe this is possible. Because if you didn't believe this is possible, you wouldn't bother. There's a lot of people, I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people that started this course that have already quit before they got to this point, because fundamentally they believe that it's not possible and that they're never going to make it. But you did. You're still here, which means that you're acting that belief out. You don't do things, you don't make decisions and perform physical actions. You don't exert calorific physical potential without the premise that it's true. You won't do anything if you don't believe that that thing is worth doing, and you won't do anything if you don't believe that it's the right thing to do. You won't, okay? And I'm talking about that in alignment with your self-image and your judgment-based beliefs. So if fundamentally you believe that it's impossible to make money online and that you're never going to make it, and that is truly what you believe, then you wouldn't be watching these videos, because you're acting out the complete opposite, right? So part of you, little bit of you believes, at least, which is good. And these are belief feedback loops again. So your beliefs are going to feed back on reality and start reinforcing themselves with synchronicity and confirmation bias. So synchronicity is a pretty cool idea developed by Carl Jung. So if you ever started looking at something before, only to see it everywhere. So like, let's say for example, you look at buying a Tesla, and then suddenly you start seeing Teslas everywhere. Like beforehand, you never really noticed Teslas. And then one day, you're like, oh, I fancy buying a Tesla. And then suddenly, bang, they're like everywhere. You see them every time you go out. Or maybe you discover a new word and it starts appearing in books or movies and something else every single day. Or maybe you discover like a new name or a new actress or actor and you start seeing them everywhere. This is called synchronicity. It's basically where you have a heightened sense of awareness for a certain component of reality. And when you do that, when you start heightening your awareness of a certain thing, you draw more experiences closer to you to do with that thing. Because this is the interesting thing, is it's no different. There's the same amount of Teslas are driving by you every day. You just start to notice them more because you're aware. This will work in your favor. As you start making money and making progress, you will become synchronous with your reality and success will start showing up more and more. You only need to get a little slither of success for it to start appearing up over and over again. In the same way that you only need to see a Tesla once to start seeing them all the time. Confirmation bias is where you seek to confirm what you already believe to be true. Often all you need to do is trigger the new belief gently and it will start flywheeling out of control as per the feedback loop above. So this is confirmation bias. Who am I becoming? I'm becoming this person, so I'm going to act that out and that's going to happen, which means I'm confirming my identity. If you look at anyone in life, you look at their religious or political beliefs or any sort of beliefs, they're far less concerned with whether or not the belief is true, accurate, or lines up with their goal, but they're just more concerned with proving it right and defending it. So confirmation bias or inconsistency avoidance tendency or commitment consistency bias is this idea that you want to confirm what you believe to be true. And you confirm it through your actions and through your speech and through who you hang out with and all these things. Now, the most important belief to develop is the meta belief. To use the synchronicity and confirmation bias example, meta belief. Your meta belief is your belief about beliefs. So this is a really interesting idea because do you fundamentally buy and believe this mindset training? Do you believe that you can change? Do you believe that your current identity is malleable and that you can actually shift and adjust your mind? This is crucial to work on because what happens with a lot of people is they try and do this mindset stuff, but they fundamentally don't believe that it's going to work and they don't believe that they can change and they don't buy it. And then what happens is like they stop doing the mindset thing, which means they stop creating new experiences and then bang, before they know it, they're in the bin. So now that we've got all of that out of the way, I'm excited to talk to you about this thing because fucking hell, this is scary. Like, let me get into this. You're going to love it. Forging experiences. As you should now understand, the secret to having your reality align with your goal reality is your beliefs, which are a product of your experiences. A lot of people suffer because they don't have the right experiences and therefore form the wrong beliefs. So if you've grown up poor and broke and in a family that doesn't have much money and you've never really seen success before, then all of your experiences are bound to that bias. You know, if let's say that you want to lose weight and you've grown up in a really overweight household and all you've ever known is being overweight and overweight family, overweight friends and everyone's fat, then it's, you know, any experience you have that would be the opposite, you'll reject because it's out of alignment with your beliefs. And so a lot of people suffer because they don't have the right experiences. So the question is how do we encounter the right experiences if our beliefs and current reality don't allow us to have them? Because right now, your reality is biased to probably being broke or poor or, you know, miserable or unsuccessful, right? And you're experiencing reality and all of your experiences are in alignment with that. Now, my reality, for example, is more abundant. I experience lots of wealthy things and stuff like that. And that's because you and I are different people and have different paradigms. But I was where you were. So the question is, well, if in order for me to form beliefs to act properly and get my goal, I need to have certain experiences, how the hell am I supposed to get those experiences? Because you might not be able to afford to buy a supercar and experience driving that, or you might not be able to afford to, pay the bill all the time and have that experience with money, right? So how do we do this? Well, what I'm going to do is teach you how to fabricate and forge fake experiences that allow you to start rewiring your belief system so you can achieve alignment. And this is fucking groundbreaking. And everything that I've taught you so far has led to this moment. So let's take a little look, okay? So what we're doing is we're looking at the Self-Transcendence Workbook. And you can see the examples here in Google Drive. So we've got 2 examples and I'm going to show them to you. Now, I want to just give you a little warning before we get into this. It's scary, this stuff, because time and time again, I have made a slideshow on my computer, acted it out as if it was true, and it's came true. And this isn't some theory crafted woo-woo bullshit, some fucking weird Pinterest thing that you've seen. This is the fucking truth. I cannot begin to express the power and change that this exercise has had on my existence and my life. It is so severe, and you're going to see, because the thing is I can't lie about this stuff. I can't just make this stuff up. I have the benefit of looking back at time here. I can go back and look at the documents I created and show you that they actually happened. All right, here we go. So I've got 2 of them, 2 examples to give you here. And this is the first. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here so you can see this. So welcome to the Self-Transcendence Workbook. So what I've got is I've been doing this for years. And every other month or so, I edit and adjust who I'm becoming according to my goals. And I do it using this document here. And this is really powerful. So what I'm showing you are 2 incredibly important self-transcendence workbooks for me in terms of variations. We've got Charlie Morgan 2.4, and then this one here, I believe is Charlie Morgan 3.2. Okay, and I'm going to walk you through these because it's fucking scary, because these have actually come true. Okay, so we'll start with Charlie Morgan 2.4 here. So what you do is you can download this in the resources section as a Keynote or a PowerPoint file. And what I want you to do is create your own. And what I'm going to do before I tell you to create your own is walk you through the whole thing. And then it's pretty self-explanatory to create, okay? So on the front cover here, we have a bunch of role models. And the whole point of this is you print it out. So I've got I think probably 500 pages of maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. I've got like a bunch of pages printed out, stapled, laminated in a booklet containing these things, right? So you're gonna need a printer for this. Okay, so what you do is you get all your role models and you put them on a screen on a little slide here. You can see, you can just adjust them, right? And you put yourself at the bottom in the middle, and you can label it with your name. It's gonna be 1.0, right? It's gonna be the first version. And so here we've got Epictetus, got Carl Jung, Winston Churchill, Charlie Munger, Napoleon, Chris Froome, Sam Ovens, my mentor. It's very important I put your mentor on here, or the person who you feel is or has going to have the most impact on your success. There can be multiple of them. Socrates, Louis Zamperini, Pericles, and Anthony Joshua, right? So people that I used to look up to or still do. So then I created this on the 4th of February, I think in 2018. I want to say 2018, about then. Yeah, a long time ago, right? So you just have this second page here, and you're going to put the version you're in. Then what we have is important things to remember. So the point of this document is you're going to be reading this thing twice a day, in the morning before work and in the evening after work. So we're going to bookmark your work day with the Self-Transcendence Workbook. And what that means is twice a day, you're going to read these summaries of the mindset training. So the first one is for achieving omniscience. Invoke constant paradigm shifts. Reality exists in a pure objective form. When we observe it, we create a subjective reality. The subjective depends on our paradigm and how we see the world. When you observe a component of reality, you create an experience. This is biased through our paradigm. Your paradigm is the product of your beliefs, knowledge, judgment, and self-image based beliefs. The fastest route to success is to have a drastic paradigm shift, breaking down hard-jammed existing beliefs and replacing them with something new that favors your goal and the future you want. And 2, for subjugating reality. It does not matter what is true, only what you believe is true, because with work that will become true. Your experiences create your beliefs create your paradigm creates your thoughts create your perceived options create your decisions, and your decisions create your actions, and your actions create your reality. You must intercept at the experience stage, taking daily action on this document to rewire your belief systems and ultimately change your reality. Stack the rocks, build your paradigm, and align your existing reality to your goal reality. And become he who can, from Identity Ignition. It's all your fault. You're to blame for this life. Everything falls on you, and you must admit and take total responsibility for your problems, life, and reality. No one's to blame but you. Fortunately, you're malleable. Your identity can be changed in an instant, and you are not locked into your current self, doomed to repeat the same behaviors and manifest the same reality over and over again. Self-solidification is a disease, and truth is the cure. The truth is that you have a becoming self, desperate to manifest inside of you, ready to grow and force something new into existence. Every big jump of progress you make in life and reality comes first because you changed yourself. We don't achieve goals, we achieve characters, identities that force the goal to manifest. And we don't get what we want, we get what we tolerate. You are not defined by your highs, but rather your lows. Human beings won't do shit to achieve a goal, but will fight like hell not to break their standards. Understand that the only way to break your oscillatory life cycles is to flip your floor, to bring your most current low and raise it to your most current high. The secret to doing this is to register your current ceiling as the most disgusting, painful thing you can imagine. And the key to flipping the floor is to find limiting beliefs associated with the component, flip them on their head, and invert them to rewire your brain. And you can think of the outreach epiphany. And every day, put yourself through as much pain as possible. Eat pain, bathe in pain, love pain, and relish in it. When you try to bend the universe, it will push back. Resistance is going to come for you, and it's going to numb you, and it's going to seduce you and scare you into not working. Proceed in spite of it, no matter how you feel. Pain manifests when effort meets resistance. Your current self creates resistance to stay alive, and the only weapon you have to defeat it is pain, and that comes from the work. Work is defined as doing painful things. Remember, you are the puppeteer, you are the general, you are the mind. Your puppet, soldier, and body take instructions from you. Do it every day, make a deposit into the bank of suffering every day. Don't cope, and walk the trial by fire. And avoid polarization. Don't get jammed. Avoid extremes. The world isn't black and white, it's grey. Humans love to form identities around dualities and pick a side. The greatest men and women of all time are able to think in non-binary terms, whereby they can contradict themselves and slide between two opposites. You need this to do with your personality as well as your behavior, okay, from polarity paradoxes. And last but not least, exercise constant discipline and have the discipline to rest. So, we talked about this in the last video, but control your impulses, do the work consistently. Delay gratification, go all in everywhere. Sacrifice everything that isn't your goal, health or family. Focus hard, don't judge others, become the client you want to attract, and have the courage to understand your drive vacuums. Have the discipline to rest and avoid polarizing yourself to either the end of discipline or rest spectrum. Recover well and focus on keeping your long-term battery recharged. Avoid burnout, for too much discipline creates forced rest. So these are the summaries. And it's crucial that you remember these key ideas, right? So I've summarized, what is it now? Probably like 25 hours of mindset training or something crazy into a single page. And I'm telling you right now that you are going to have to go back through this mindset training as often as you can. To give you some context, when I was going through my mentor Sam's mindset training, I watched that pretty much every month for about 3 years. And I'm not even joking. Like, this is the thing to get. This is the thing to drill. Everything else doesn't matter. If you get this mindset stuff right, and if you solidify these ideas and you become these ideas, everything else is fucking easy. So, any time that you enter a rut, any time that you get lost, any time that you get into like this, this burnout mode, come back and rewatch these videos and remind yourself and pick yourself back up, because everything you need to become successful is contained in these videos. And so you're going to read this every single day to yourself, twice a day. So daily ritual: wake up early, exercise, shower, and then read this Sales Transcendence Journal from start to finish. Remember that if you can change your reality if you change your beliefs. You are the result of your programming, and do not forget this. Okay? So look at your vision boards and who you are becoming. Imagine being there and let the positive emotions wash over you and pour the water. This actually means, when I say pour the water, I mean like, you're talking about the scales, stack the rocks, right? Read your affirmations aloud to yourself. Imagine a situation where each one is genuinely true and make it as detailed and colorful as possible. Let the positive emotions associated with that statement and image wash over you and reprogram your mind to get what you want. Take massive violent action during your working hours. Stop for nothing and work like a beast. Execute your day just the way you planned it and do the fucking work. And then wrap up your day by reviewing any metrics that you've got and using any trackers that you've got, and go back over this again. I'm going to put this here. Go back over this document. And allow your mind and body to relax properly before you sleep, because if you don't, your body will force you to. So just another little reminder of what you're going to do in the day. Now, this is where things get a bit weird. What you're seeing on the screen here was a vision board that I created for myself when I was 18 or 19, 2018, can't remember now, but it was a long, long time ago, right? I'm recording this at 26, 27 now. And I made this 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I can't remember the exact time. But what you're seeing here is the apartment I wanted to live in, which is in the Crest Nicholson development in a city called Bath in the UK. The car I wanted, the course I wanted to join, the mastermind I wanted to join, the watch I wanted, the body I wanted, the state of discipline I wanted, the clothing style I wanted, and how I wanted to travel. And you want to know what's scary? You want to know what's frightening? Is a couple of years later, I made my legacy to date, which was basically everything that I'd achieved. So this is my second self-transcendence document, right? And on that second self-transcendence document is the car I wanted, the body I wanted, the exact apartment I wanted, and the exact lifestyle that I wanted. So I'm not even joking here. Like, I put this down thinking, fucking hell, there's no way I'm going to be able to achieve this. There's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to move into this apartment, because the apartment I wanted was a penthouse in Bath. It's bloody expensive, right? And I wanted this black Mercedes C-Class. And, you know, I made this when I was broke. I made this just after I'd signed my first client. I had nothing to my name. I was doing an apprenticeship. I was a dropout of university. I was a complete failure. I had nothing to my name. And I had a vision. And that vision was to get shredded and get rich and have a nice car and have this apartment. And so you want to get real specific. And the other thing I put down here was the course I wanted to join and the mastermind I wanted to join. So my mentor, these don't exist anymore because my mentor is now a SaaS billionaire. He's moved on to something much bigger. But I wanted to join his, I didn't have the money to at the time, or the means to at the time, but I wanted to join his paid programs because they fucking rocked, right? So I put them on my vision board to buy them. And I extended this vision board out a little bit here with the apartment exactly and everything I wanted it to be, and my aura score, what I wanted that to be like, and all this stuff. Oh, fuck, I get a bit emotional when I talk about this, to be honest. Sorry, just give me a minute. I feel like I should cut the recording here, really. Fuck. Do you know how I've kept my composure pretty well for the last couple of months making these mindset videos. But, you know, I put this together when I was 18. So I'm quite emotional about this. Oh, fuck. Okay, let me look it. When I was 18, I was lost. I had no idea what I was doing. I was broke. I was a failure. I was unhealthy. I was poor. I was dead in the water. I was completely lost. And I wanted to be better, and I wanted a better life, and I wanted a better lifestyle. And I figured out exactly what I wanted. I got pictures of it. This picture here that you can see, this one, I bring this to the front here. I drove to Bath. This is my hand. I drove to Bath, which is the city in the UK that I wanted to move to. I found the apartment complex I wanted to live in, and I pointed to the exact penthouse that I wanted. That I literally went and did that, right? And a couple of years later, I moved into that apartment. And I got that car. and I joined that course and I got that mastermind. Like, what the fuck? It still blows my mind. Like, I don't think, like, you guys see me from the perspective of someone who's made a lot of money, been successful, been in the game for years. You guys see me, you're experiencing the 10-year product of me. But I don't quite think you understand that where you are right now is exactly where I were when I started. Hopeless, lost, just needing a mentor, desperate, right? And I put it onto a fucking sheet of paper and I made it happen. And so what you do is you create a vision board, and it should be as vivid as humanly possible, down to the detail, right? And so, I wanted a riverside penthouse in Bath, which is a city in the UK. I wanted a C220D AMG line Mercedes 17 plate onwards in black. I wanted a Tag Heuer Carrera. I can't pronounce that watch brand, so we're going to just say Heuer. And I wanted a monochrome style. I wanted a $1 million agency. I wanted to be intelligent, be monk-like, exponential, bold, cash-rich, biohacker, and shredded. So what you do when you create your vision board, and I'm still a little bit emotional talking about this because I don't think you understand, like literally just a couple of years later, like, here's me smoking a cigar on the balcony of the penthouse that I fucking, like, I don't think you're quite registering this just yet, mate. Like, I drive to the penthouse that I want to move into and I fucking point at it and take a picture of me pointing at it. I put it on a vision board. I look at this vision board twice a day for a couple of years. And then a couple of years later, I sign the lease for that exact apartment that you can see right here. This is my office. And there's me smoking a cigar on that balcony. And then here's the car that I wanted to buy as well. Like, on my vision board, every day I looked at the C-Class black Mercedes, and I ended up buying the slightly better model, the way better model, the C63S AMG. And, I was skinny and I was out of shape, and I was like, I looked like a bit of a fucking, like, neek. So I had this shredded thing. I wanted to be shredded and ripped, and, guess what happened? I got in pretty good shape. And I wanted to build $1 million agency, and guess what happened? I built, like, I don't think people, it's hard to communicate, like, just how this feels, because if you do this properly, like, you're actually going to make it happen. And it's quite frightening just how you can actually get this stuff to work. And so what you do is you put together a vision board. And if you think this is scary, right? Well, then let me show you something. Let me show you something else. This is my later vision board for a couple of years after, for 3.2. And on this vision board is the Palm Jumeirah. So it's fucking scary, man. Like, I know I don't usually lose my shit when I come to make these videos, but when I'd done this and I'd moved into the apartment I wanted and I'd fulfilled this vision board, I came up with a new one, which was to be at 8 figures with info, to live a life of luxury, to have an audience, to be an industry leader, to be considered a genius, and be filthy rich. Well, guess what? I'm now at 8 figures with info. I could live a life of luxury if I wanted to. I have an audience. I lead an industry. I don't think I'm a genius, to be honest. That'd be a bit stupid, but I am filthy rich. And what was amazing to me is, I moved back from Dubai recently. I spent 2 years living there. This picture here, I remember I got it from, like, it's 2018. This was the exact road that I lived on. Like, you can see here, you've got the Royal Atlantis, which is a landmark in the UAE, in Dubai. And I literally would walk past this house with this pool. And I didn't, bear in mind, when I made this, I was successful. I was at this point where I'd made some money. And, I basically just put it on a document and bang. And then also, look at this. This is the silver play button. So when I made this thing, I didn't have a proper YouTube channel. In fact, I had 5,000 subscribers. And so I put the silver play button on here, and I got the silver play button the other day. And then the other thing I put on here was hosting my own mastermind, like my mentor did. And now I have my own mastermind, like my mentor did. I also put the first class Emirates travel, and I put being able to do public speaking and having an audience. And all of these things have come true. I've driven the Lambos, I've driven the G-Wagons. I went to buy these things and buy the watch, and I realized I didn't want it in the end, but I'll tell you that story in a minute. Anyway, you can tell I'm a little bit excited by this stuff because I have the luxury of hindsight here. Like, I remember making these, oh my God, it makes me, I'm a bit of a mess at the moment, guys. I'm really sorry about this. It's hard to make this and stay cohesive because this is so close to my heart. Like, it worked. For crying out loud, what are the chances of that? Taking some pixels, putting them on a piece of paper, printing them off, looking at them a couple of times a day, and then a couple of years later actually having it happen multiple times in a row. Not just buying a nice little car or moving into a nice flat or flying first class every now and then, but moving to the fucking Palm and being filthy rich. Like, it's scary. So what you do is you make your vision board and you put as much detail in here as you can possibly get. You find exactly where you want it. For me, the big thing was the flat and the car. Those were the big things, like flat, car, body, business. Those are the big things. And so, I went on Rightmove, which is a company here in the UK for renting apartments, and I found the apartments. I found the address, the postcodes. Then what you do is you put in your legacy to date. So this is where you are when you make the vision board. So what you can see, this is who I was when I made this vision board. Dropout, apprentice, reader, first client, first few failures. So the only thing that I'd achieved at this point was having signed my first client, which you're pretty close to probably doing, right? So this kid here, I'm still a student. Look at me, like fucking goofy fucking college ID here. Look at that shit. This is me with my mentor. I've blocked his face out because I don't think he'd appreciate hundreds of thousands of people seeing his face. This is me with the, look at this shit. This is me, this picture here is me going through the mindset training from my mentor, which is no longer available on the internet, by the way. But I've taken this stuff and put it on steroids, which is the point of this mindset training. This is me watching how to create a vision board. So I'm creating this vision board and then I put this picture of me on it. Like, this is my legacy. This is who I am right now. And you can see here's Sam's, right? With his story, and I made my story here, and I thought, I'll just take a quick picture of this. This is me at like 19. Guys, this shit's possible. Like, I don't think you quite understand. Like, this actually can be done. I'm not special. I'm not some miracle child that was just born to succeed. I just had a filthy work ethic, and I knew what I wanted, and I made it fucking happen. It feels good. Anyway, where were we? Right. You can see here's me making cold calls in my sister's art shed. With my laptop and my headphones. You can see I've got this little script here, making cold calls. This was my bank account at the time. So I had £1,000 that had just landed in my Stripe, my first client. But my actual bank account, because this hadn't cleared into my bank yet, my actual bank account had like £80 in it. I tried drop shipping with this cat watch brand. I tried a marketing thing before, which failed, called Revenue. And my biggest financial achievement was buying an MVMT black watch. That was my legacy. I was like, shit, what can I put on here that I've actually achieved? Spending $100 on a watch, eh? Bless me. And then obviously my books, I was proud of reading the books I'd read as well. I think these are the books I read in a year or something, like I can't remember now. But basically you put your legacy in, which is what you've done so far. And the point here is you might not have done anything. So to most people, this is nothing. Like, the only thing that's impressive on here maybe is just getting my first client. Other than that, it's just having a job and, just reading some books, right? And making an Instagram page. So what you then do is, with this thing, is you make your story. So you can sort of document your story in these little picture stages. And, there's my first apprentice mentor. So I said I blurred his face out, but yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine with that, to be honest. I don't think he'll mind at all. So what you do is you tell your story. And so for me, it was dropping, there was a few key stages to my story up until this point. So designing my first client, right? And you can see after my, you can see my business account here. So I used to bank with Lloyds, right? So I started with £80 for my personal account. Then I signed my first client, then I got another for like half price. So I had like 1.6K in there. I thought I was fucking rich, I'll tell you. Anyway, drop out of uni. Then I get 3 jobs. Here's me working. You can see a picture of me here working in a call center. I used to work for Clark's Customer Care, which is a shoe brand. And then I had my business failures. So the cat watch thing, drop shipping, this marketing agency I tried to start, and this thing here, some like social media marketing thing that failed. Then I had my severe burnout. This is the only picture of me that I have from my burnout stage, where I had that 3-month window where I had to just stop. Then I had my apprenticeship, And then I start my agency and I get my first client. So I'm making this story up as it's happened, right? So these are the key stages, and this is kind of where I am right now when I make this document. So as I'm producing this document, this is where I am. And then what you do is, what's really cool is you start predicting the future. So you can create and sort of write the next chapters of your stories if they're going to unfold. So I knew that after signing my first client, I was going to finish my apprenticeship and build my agency to 10K a month, get an office and hire a team, automate the agency, move to the Bath penthouse and buy the Mercedes, travel and finally be free, and then scale up to 100K a month. These were the next steps in my story I wanted to take. This was the foresight I wanted to have, right? And you best believe it all came true, which is scary. Now, the next thing is where it gets even weirder. What you want to do is you want to write a manifesto. And looking at these words, they make me a bit, I don't know what emotion I feel when I read these words, because I wrote this manifesto when I was broke, when I was this kid over here doing an apprenticeship, working in my car, with nothing to his name, making £3 an hour, just signed one client, like that was it. There was nothing. And I wrote this manifesto. Who is Charlie Morgan? Charlie Morgan is free. He's built and scaled an agency to multi-six figures and is well on his way to 100K a month in the gym niche. He's widely regarded in the industry as the go-to agency for marketing for gyms and gets his clients insane results. His appointment booking and sales skills are unmatched, and he finds getting clients for his agency easy, and his standards for himself are ruthlessly high. His agency went from 1K a month to 10K a month rapidly fast after signing his first client. He did it in record time, scaling up to 10K a month in just a few months after the first domino fell. True story. After that, he went on to scale to 100K a month with disgusting speed, solving problems like a demon. True story. Charlie lives in a glass-panelled penthouse in Bath, in the countryside of the UK. He lives in the most prestigious address in Bath and has the top penthouse of either Leopold House, Alexandra House, Sovereign Point, or anywhere else in the Crest Nicholson Bath Riverside development. True story. He's paid for multiple years of rent up front and has a wonderful city and countryside, wonderful view. True story. Charlie drives a black C220D AMG Mercedes Coupe. I actually drove a C63 at the time, but true story. He didn't finance it, he bought it in cash. True story. The car is a real head turner and it's classy and fast. True story. He drives it regularly and takes European road trips in it. True story. Due to his financial and physical state, Charlie is extremely confident with women and has no trouble dating in this department. True story. He finds it easy to date and is extremely confident when talking to dating beautiful women. True story. You got to realize, none of this was true when I first wrote it. Charlie has financial time and location freedom. He spends his time traveling the world working for his laptop. This happened. He takes his family and siblings on frequent trips and can afford to go anywhere in the world in style. He's truly a free man and no one can control him or boss him around. This happened. Charlie's a ruthless, relentless entrepreneur. He's not afraid of pain or confrontation. He's a master of sales and finds closing high-ticket deals easy. This happened. Charlie has a disgusting pain tolerance and fear tolerance. He has an extremely competitive attitude and is paired with his genius. He's a force to be reckoned with in business. This happened. Charlie takes good care of his health. He eats clean, exercises regularly, and has a lean, muscular body. He meditates regularly, practices minimalism with a monochrome style, and lives a simple, focused life. This happened. Charlie's extremely intelligent. He always makes the right decisions and lives in accordance with second-order consequences. He's a genius. Well, you can make a decision as to whether you think that's true or not. Then you have your goals. So the thing is about this is this, I wrote this, and when I wrote this, I thought there's no fucking way this is going to happen. I really thought to myself, oh shit, this is way too much of a stretch. Living in this flat and having this car and being confident with girls. I was dreaming here. To me now, this just seems like a walk in the park. This is just something that just happened. But that's because I've evolved myself and I've developed my identity to such an extreme that this just is now it was my life. I've since moved on. This happened. This was my reality many years ago. I lived in that apartment for a while before I moved to Dubai. So then you have your character traits. So what you'll remember is I think it was Identity Ignition. I think it was one of the mindset modules. We talked about your becoming self and mapping that out and mapping out the traits and everything. And you should have access to that Miro board you did. And so what you want to do now is you want to put in your character traits, and then you put in your body type and style, you put in your routine, and you put in your mentors. So my character traits that I needed to develop were being monk-like, relaxed, non-judgmental, attractor, focused, fearless, aware, and patient. And I wanted to have my haircut like this, my dress like this, my accessories like this. I never ever wore that silver chain, by the way. You can see there's some suspicious stuff going on in here, but anyway. Grooming. This was my routine. So I wrote down the routine that I wanted to follow, and Like I was like, what would the routine be of this guy? Like this guy who's like this vision guy that makes this happen. Like what would his routine look like? You write it down and then you act it out. And before you know it, by acting it out, you become it. And then you write down your mentors. So for me, my mentors were Sam Evans, Charlie Munger, and Epictetus or the Stoics. So you don't really want to have many, people make the mistake of having loads of mentors. Really, you only want to have like one or two. Truly for me, it was just Sam. But I learned a lot from reading and other people as well, and Epictetus's discourses. But you want to put your mentor on here. So maybe you can put me in if you want, or whoever else you've learned from, right? But I wouldn't have more than 2 or 3. Then you have your goals. This is hilarious. 100K saved. It's cute. You put your financial wealth goals in here. You put your business goals in here. You put your health and fitness goals in here. So this is quite interesting to observe because I wanted to save 100K, mortgage a rental property, and provide a safety net to my family. I didn't actually do the rental property in the end because it wasn't a good investment. But I got all this done. I achieved these goals. And I got to 100K a month in sales. I helped 100 gym owners. So that was my first agency. I automated my organic attraction. I automated my sales, and I delivered a great service. And then my health and fitness goals. I did this, 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 I did this. Personal behavioral goals. I did this and this and this and this. And my unquestionable standards, I managed to do this as well. Like, you know, my floor became 100K a month cash in my agency. So what you want to do here is think of this like designing a movie character, but there's no limit. You know, you want to be really clear on your vision and what you want to achieve, and you want to make it as visual as possible. You want to put down your legacy to date and what you've achieved so far, if as much as you can. Then you want to write out your story so far and the next steps in that story so it starts to look like it's going to happen. Then you write down a manifesto. This is kind of like, you know, this is like who you would dream to be. Like if you could be anyone, like who would you dream to be? What exactly would that look like, right? Then you have your traits, your characters, your character traits, your style, your routine, and your mentors, and then your goals. And if you have all these things put in together, you've kind of built like a character. You've built the identity. You can see it. You can read it. You can feel it. You can experience it just by looking at it, right? Then what you want to do is you want to have a couple of pages of affirmations. So affirmations are the best way to create imaginary experiences. And what it basically is you read a sentence, you imagine you imagine an experience associated with that sentence, you feel an emotion associated with that image, and then that forms a belief. So if we talk about stacking the rocks on the belief scales or creating experiences that confirm what you want to believe to be true, affirmations are the way forward. Now, what I've done here is I've put in all the affirmations I've used over the years, and there's way more than this. I've got dozens of pages of affirmations that I've used to bust my beliefs. Remember, what you need to do is remember what we did with the Outreach Epiphany, where you find your limiting beliefs and you flip them. So you invert them. So, if, you know, we did this before. You must remember that. Well, I had my outreach beliefs with a piece of paper and stuff. Remember that, right? I got you to do the same thing. So what you want to do is this is where you write in the new beliefs and you write in the new programming. And so what I've done is I've put a bunch in here for you. The first few are to do with client acquisition, and these are ones that I use to solve my client acquisition belief systems, these first few here. But you can pick and choose the ones that you feel are most relevant to you. So generally speaking, you want to have like, you know, maybe 2, maybe 3 pages of affirmations, just like this. And you want to be focused on the problem at hand. So whatever the biggest problem is in your life, or the biggest bottleneck in your business, is what you want to write your affirmations around. So if you're struggling with sales, if you're struggling with appointment booking, then the affirmation should be about appointment booking and sales. I.e., I am an incredible salesperson and I love closing deals and I think I'm amazing at sales. I'm so happy with my sales ability. That's an affirmation. Or let's say that you had a problem with, I don't know, to use a non-business context, eating healthily. Let's say that your self-image is that you struggle to eat healthy. Well, your affirmation could be, I love eating healthily and I find it so easy to eat clean. It's insane how naturally it comes to me eating healthily. I'm so happy about it. That's an affirmation. Whenever you speak an affirmation, it is absolutely crucial that you imagine an image. So if I said, I am amazing at sales and I love closing deals, it's the best thing ever, then what you would imagine yourself doing is shaking hands or something with a prospect and them handing you $1,000. And you imagine that in your mind and you let yourself fill up with positive emotion associated with that. So the words give you inspiration for the image, and the image should invoke an emotion. And if we do this, if we go words, image, emotion, then we have created an experience. So right now, if you believe that money is hard to come by, and you then, one of your affirmations could be, I genuinely believe that money grows on trees and money flows to me abundantly. And I love the fact that I make loads of money. I'm so happy about that. That's an affirmation. What you could then do is you could close your eyes and imagine yourself laying on your bed and money just falling on you, like thousands of dollars just floating down and falling on your bed. And that would probably feel pretty good. So you can imagine that experience and you can create an emotion. And every time you create this experience, you stack the scale on the money thing and you start to act it out. And the more you do this, the more you rewire your brain like this, the more experiences you create of this nature, the quicker the belief systems will form, the better your actions will be, and the sooner you'll make the right decisions, okay? So you can put your affirmations in here. I would create your own because they need to be your words, but these are here for inspiration. And I've used all of these multiple times. Like I said, I've got dozens of pages of them, but it needs to be specific to you and your situation. Like, you know, I truly believe that I struggled to get clients. So I told myself probably about 10,000 times that I have too many appointments. And fucking guess what? I actually do now have this. This is funny because I genuinely used to never believe any of this stuff. But now I believe that money is abundant. I believe that my market is abundant. I genuinely believe I'm God's gift to organic attraction. I think I'm the best in the world at it. I love organic attraction. I believe that appointment booking is the easiest thing in the world. I believe that I love appointment booking. I have too many appointments. I'm brilliant at sales. My progress is consistent and steady. I'm a ruthless closer. I do not judge others. Like these are all things that weren't true, but are now true to me. And all I had to do was just repeat them, create an image, and do that. So the other thing that you want to do here, before you read out your affirmations, because you need to read them out loud, is you want to clap, with your hands. Because what's going to happen is you're going to go through this document twice a day, and eventually you're going to just get bored of it and just start blasting through it, right? But what you want to do is, before you read your affirmations, you need to do a big loud clap, because what that does is it kind of, it tunes you in, like it forces you to sort of focus, like you suddenly become locked in, and then the affirmations actually register. That makes sense. So that is the first workbook example. This is the second. So this was when this first document that you saw here, I made when I was like dead broke. So here I've got hardly just one client on board. I'm working in my sister's art shed. I'm doing my apprenticeship. I'm desperate to succeed, and I've dropped out of uni. I'm a complete failure. I've just come out of my burnout stage. Things are not good for me, right? So I dream up this crazy lifestyle that I thought I'd never achieve, and getting into this course and this mastermind and stuff. I was like, there's no way. And I wrote this manifesto thinking that's never going to happen. Like, what the fuck? But then I had all these affirmations, and I'd read them out every day to myself twice a day. What happened is it all came true. So this literally became exactly true to the letter, which was kind of insane. I even bought the nicer version of the car, and I got to 100K a month, and it happened. And I celebrated. And when I did that, I was at my version 3.2. So I had my another version to create. So I had to reinvent myself. I needed a new becoming self. Because trust me, it might sound ridiculous, but it's just as painful to be stuck at 100K a month as it is at a couple of K a month. Not financially, but it's the same premise, right? I like to develop. You best believe, by the way, I have one of these self-transcendence workbooks for my current self, for who I'm becoming next. I'm not going to share that with you because it is really personal and it's quite deep. But I can share this with you in hindsight. So I made this when I was making 100K a month in my agency, and I just started Imperium Agency. So Imperium Agency was a while old, and we were doing quite well with Imperium, and Northflow was doing 100K a month, and things were going really good. And so what I did is I at this point had some new role models because I'd been reading a lot. So we had Napoleon, Michelangelo, Alexander the Great, obviously my mentor Sam again, Caesar, Carnegie, Elon Musk, Wellington, Seneca. So I just like to refresh it so it's nice and new, print it off, etc. Obviously we've got the important things to remember again that I've put in here for you. Daily ritual again that I put in here for you. And then we've got this vision board. This all came true. Now, I put this down once again thinking there's no fucking way. I was like, there's no way that I can get to 8 figures. I'm at 100K a month. There's no way I can have this lifestyle and buy these watches and fly private and There's no way I can have enough authority to run my own mastermind and, have people pay attention to me. But I did. And I moved into this exact street on the Palm. And for those of you who don't believe me, you can go and look back on my YouTube videos from 2024, and you'll see this house in my videos basically for like a year and a half. And I literally did it. Like, all of this came true. This exact street, I lived on the Palm. I had enough money that this watch like 200 grand. I was going to buy it, and then I was like, that's just fucking stupid, because I kind of like this first version of me was like me just craving freedom. I was like, I just want to be free. And then this version of me, I went kind of status crazy, right? So like, we've got some pictures of some models here with Dan Bilzerian, because I wanted these like beautiful women. I've got like a penthouse here in London because I was like, I want to live in like luxury. And I got the house on the Palm. I drove the Lamborghinis and the G-Wagons, and I didn't buy them in the end because I just invested the money, and that was about 18 months ago, and I'm up. I'm bloody glad I didn't buy these things, but I had the option to, which is what matters, right? I can now fly private whenever I want. I can't buy a jet yet, not quite there, but if I wanted to fly to Spain or something, it's like 15 grand or some shit. It's not that bad, which I know is insane, but you get my point. And then I got my silver play button. I got my 100k YouTube subscribers. And whenever I fly Emirates, I'll go first class in this cabin. And I can't stress enough, like, none of this seemed within reach to me when I was doing 100k a month. Because like, to live on the Palm, like, I was doing 100k a month with my agency, and we were on like 60% margins, and I had a business partner, and we had expenses. So I wasn't actually making that much money. Like, I was still making very, very good money, but in contrast, I wasn't making 100k a month like cash, like after taxes, because I lived in the UK, which meant that I was taxed at 25% profit. Then I had to pay income tax of 40%. Then 50% of it went to my business partner because I had a business partner. Then we had expenses. So it might seem like, 100k a month, like you can live this life. No, you can't. You can't. There's all sorts of shit. So, this all happened. Like, I can fly private. I could buy the Brabus G-Wagon if I wanted to, but I don't really want to do that anymore because it just feels a bit stupid. I could buy the SVJ with the Gintani exhaust. I live in a penthouse in London now, which is funny because I moved back from Dubai because my new vision board and who I'm becoming now had to reject all of this stuff, had to reject the luxury materialism. Here's an audience, right? A person with a big, massive audience, people listening to him. And so when I made this was who I was. So I made this vision board when I was living in Bath in the penthouse. I had the C63. I had the physique. I had like 5k on YouTube. I just launched Easy Grow, which is the course. It's been developed since then, obviously. And I got the agency to 100k a month. So at this point, I was a 7-figure agency owner, a micro influencer, a cash millionaire, disciplined, and had my dream apartment and car. And it's quite funny because this was my story to date. So at this point, right, I'd done all this stuff as before. I got the agency to 10k a month and built an office. Then I automated the agency. Then I got to do the traveling thing. So I did the traveling thing with the agency and got to 100k a month. Then I started a agency course, moved to Bath, and bought the car. And then what I hadn't done yet was the next chapters, which was get to 500k a month, get to Forbes 30 under 30, build a remote sales team, get the silver play button, get to 1 million a month, and do the whole living on the Palm thing. Now, this came true. I haven't got on Forbes 30 under 30 yet. So if anyone happens to know anyone that works for Forbes in this department, then let me know, because it is still a goal of mine, which is probably just a little bit narcissistic, but whatever, right? It was on my chapters. So this thing is not going to be 100% accurate, right? But yeah, we miss a few of the shots. But yeah, that's how it worked. And funnily enough, like, I was blind. I didn't know this was going to happen or not, right? But I put these chapters in and they came true. I got to 500k a month. I built a remote sales team. I got to 100k subs. I got to $1 million a month, and I moved to Dubai. And I had the luxury cars and the wardrobe and all this shit. And then this is where my ego went a little bit crazy, but that's fine because I was dreaming. And it's important to note that this manifesto is, I'm going to read this out to you, and it's probably going to sound a bit like me because this is who I wanted to become, and this is basically who I became. Charlie Morgan is a 7-figure agency owner turned 8-figure info entrepreneur. True. He is known to be the #1 expert in the make money online space for client acquisition, and his content and courses are widely regarded as the go-to places for agency owners and coaches to get clients and systems for appointment booking. True. He has achieved total transcendence, soaring far and wide above anyone else in the market. True. With his ruthless business acumen and skill set, his agency coaching business makes 8 figures, no trouble. True. He's comfortably sat on 8 figures cash after tax. True. His main business, this is, by the way, none of this was fucking real. Like, I made this when I was this 7-figure dude, right? His main business is Imperium Agency, a company that makes it easy for any agency owner, coach, or consultant to quickly scale to 6, multi-6 or 7 figures. True. Imperium Agency has the most groundbreaking record in online business history for client results, boasting literal thousands of results, case studies, and testimonials. True. I've got 3,000 testimonials for Easy Grow. When I wrote this, I had like 100 clients for Imperium Agency, maybe a few more than that. So this was like a vision. This hadn't happened yet. His clients cherish his program. It's lethal for results and an insane program. True. This is fucking brilliant. Alongside Easy Grow, Charlie has a vast suite of top-tier info products. He runs the best info and agency mastermind in the game. True. And has a free course used by millions of people to get rich. And oh my God, I wrote this, 4 or 5 years ago now? I can't remember how long ago it was, but I'm now doing this. And millions of people, so this is all coming true. Alongside his YouTube channel, he has 100,000 subscribers. And it's made him famous and respected all over the Western world for business. I might not be famous and respected all over the Western world, but this has happened. Because he was making so much money, Charlie decided to move to Dubai to the exclusive address Palm Jumeirah. True. Or that happened. He lives in the mansion alongside his business partner Bo and their girlfriends. Now, I was a little ambitious to assume that Bo and I would have girlfriends at this point because we didn't, right? But I'm not going to be right about everything, right? Some of this stuff's wrong. They live along the beach with a live-in maid and staff. We didn't have a live-in maid, we got cleaners, but whatever. The garage contains many exotic supercars. Charlie can afford luxury and has no problem spending big sums of money on whatever he wants. So Charlie drives an SVJ Aventador and a Gintani exhaust and a Brabus G-Wagon. He sports a Richard Mille watch alongside a minimalistic luxury wardrobe. He remains humble and hardworking in spite of his riches. So when I got to Dubai, I bought a ton of luxury stuff. I didn't flaunt it on social media at all because deep down I knew that it was not my brand or who I really was. Like I did the whole rent the car stuff and I bought all the fucking fancy shit and I'm ashamed I did it. I won't lie to you. I bought a bunch of shit. Clothes, you name it. And then I sold it all and I got rid of it all because I realized like this is going to trap me. That's how you get trapped at 8 figures is, you know, you live the bougie boy lifestyle. You know, your life becomes about status and ego as opposed to development and growth. So I got rid of it all. But I did it, you know. I had the cars, I drove the Lamborghinis, all that shit. Charlie is a ruthless, relentless entrepreneur. He's not afraid of pain or confrontation. He's a master of sales and finds closing high ticket deals easy. He has a disgusting pain tolerance. So this was from the previous one because I copy and pasted it because it was still like, it was true, but I wanted to make sure that it stayed true. Does that make sense? And he is widely regarded as a top expert in client acquisition in the game. No one can compete with him in terms of decision-making capability, work ethic, and product quality. Charlie's products are absolutely mind-blowing, and his competitors shaking their boots at the prospect of having to outcompete with him on product. It is quite literally impossible to make a better product than Charlie Morgan. When it comes to product, he is a pain-devouring sociopath who will stop at nothing, biologically and psychologically, to blow his clients away and deliver absolutely insane results. So you can be the judge of whether or not that's true with this program and with Easy Grow. Now, I will warn you, like this is an incredibly narcissistic, grandiose, egotistical thing to write. But you need to stay humble and stay grounded. Like, you know, you don't want to become this dick who just spends loads of money and doesn't care about anyone and is just totally narcissistic and self-absorbed. But this is like you can either see it as a massive narcissistic asshole or someone who's got a ton of confidence. And I think as long as you keep your values and stay humble and stuff, you know, you can be pretty bold with this stuff. Besides, it's only you that's going to read it, right? So, you know, these are the character traits that I needed to develop to get to 8 figures. Ruthless, fast, long-term focus, client worship, transparent products, and all in. This was the haircut, dress, accessories, body type, diet, and everything I wanted. And this is all of this is now true, by the way. I don't wear jeans though. Anyone that wears jeans is a fucking psychopath in my opinion. They're so uncomfortable, but I do wear Crocs. This is my routine. This has slightly changed recently, but it was my routine for quite a while. And then the same thing with my mentors didn't change. I didn't receive any new mentorship. My goals, this is all true. It came true. I wrote this down. I thought it was I thought having $10 million saved, liquid after cash, and having a $30 million net worth was obscene. When I wrote this down, I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. I was just completely perplexed by the idea of any of this happening. And it did. And it's probably more than this now. I'm not going to get into my personal financial situation, but it's a lot. And it's a lot more than I thought it would have been. And yeah, my business goals: build an A-star lean team, done. Automate actions with ads, done. 100K on YouTube, done. Management team built, done. Mind-blowing product suite, done. Well, I'm working on the free thing, right? Health and fitness goals: carnivore, meat-only, high discipline, done. Shredded, year-round, 85 kilograms, 10% body fat, nearly done. I kind of hover with the body fat thing. Indestructible immune system, done. I never get ill. Ruthlessly fit cardiovascular system, done. Perfectly optimized sleep, done. Free of all addictions and habits, done. Like, all of these things came true. And then what I've done is I've copy and pasted the same affirmations prior. There are affirmations that I've used to get to 8 figures. They're different to the ones that you use to get to multi-7 figures or 7 figures. They're different to the ones you use to get to 6 figures. They're different to the ones you use to get your first clients. Like, I'm not going to give you the affirmations I used to build a 10 million a year business, because you're just trying to get your first client, right? And you need to have different belief systems accordingly. But you're going to adjust these affirmations, and you can copy and paste the ones that you think are most relevant to you, and obviously invert your current belief systems. So that is the Sales Transcendence Workbook. I have one of these right now for my current goal and who I'm becoming. And you need to make one, and you need to make it as vivid as possible. But here's the thing. There needs to be a shred of believability to it. Because if I dreamed up all of this stuff when I was broke with no money, like, when I was this kid here, this dude here, if I tried to be like, oh, I want a house on the Palm, and I want a Lamborghini, and I want to fly first class everywhere, and I want to have a private jet, and I want to get with, Ukrainian supermodels, and like, this kid it would be too out of reach. It's too unbelievable. But, making a 10K a month and, moving into, or making, multi 6 figures and moving into a penthouse that I can point at and buying a car that's worth 20 grand, like, that seems about doable. Seems fucking hard. Or, buying my mentor's upsell course for, 5 figures or whatever. Like, that seems something I could probably just about manage. Just about. So what you don't want to do is overshoot this and have an insane vision that you just don't think is possible just yet. You want to build it bit by bit. That's why this is 3.2 and this thing here is 2.4. You start small, and there's no shame in that. And you can just be as specific as you possibly can. And the real big secret to this is the affirmations. It's reading these things out, closing your eyes, imagining a scenario where the thing you've just read is true, and letting that image register on an emotional level. If you combine the affirmations and you do that every day, and you read them every day, and you combine that with looking at how far you've come and how far you're going to go, your actions will just line up. And then, like, this is literally, like, it fucking happened. Like, I put this down on a fucking PDF with no idea that it was going to work, and it worked. And all of this came true. Same thing. Here we go. If I pull this up, I put it down, lo and behold, here I am. It happened. There's me smoking a cigar on the balcony of the fucking penthouse that I drove to in my Vauxhall Corsa and pointed at years prior. It works. And I am living proof that it works. And that's why I'm so passionate about this bloody mindset training. Affirmations are so crucial. You can't just look at this thing. You have to feel the emotion. It has to register on an emotional level. You don't really have an experience if it's not. Well, you do have experiences without emotion, but remember, the stronger the emotion, the bigger the rock that you're stacking. So yeah, I've got these vision boards for every step of my journey, and I've got my vision board for my new sense of self, my becoming self that I'm working on right now, my multi 8-figure self, and then I'm going to have a 9-figure self and a multi 9-figure self, and I'll have $1 billion self, and I will not stop, and I will keep going because it works, and I really believe in this stuff. So yeah, you kind of get the point. Be careful what you wish for or don't. And those are my vision boards and the examples. like it comes true, man. Like I remember when I signed the lease for the house on the Palm, flew out to Dubai in the middle of August, fucking boiling, got an Uber to the house, and my estate agent Stacey, she opens the door, and I was about to cry. I didn't cry because Stacey was quite attractive and I didn't want to cry in front of her, but when she left, you best know I cried. I was walking around the house and I had this vision board thing. It came everywhere with me. I had this in my it's like laminated in my suitcase, and I sat down on the on the balcony of the master bedroom, and I looked out and I saw this exact view, and I thought, oh my God. And you know, people are mistaken with the whole manifesting thing. Like people talk about manifesting and seeing it and believing it. This is actually, like, I actually did the manifesting thing and it worked. And this is the way you do it. I don't think there's any other way. So that is forging experiences. And you can look at those examples in real time by downloading them here in PDF form or PowerPoint form or Keynote form. And I'm hoping that this has given you some confidence. So there's some action items that are absolutely crucial that you do right now. I don't want you to get to the end of this mindset training and not do the work. So these are fucking crucial. So create your own. Download the examples in Keynote or PowerPoint and create your own. Spend a good amount of time on this because you're literally designing your future. There's probably arguably nothing more important than doing this. Like you can design it and it will happen. In the same way that an architect designs a building and it gets built, you can do that with reality. Make it believable, but not so far out of reach. It should scare you and you should doubt if it's possible, but not completely. There should be an inkling of hope to achieving it. Now, the next action item is I want you to post this in school. So do this now. So basically create your own. And once you've created it, I want you to take a screenshot of the front cover and the vision board. And then I want you to write a paragraph talking about your experience with the mindset module, what you think of it and how you found this week of training. And then I want you to post the paragraph and screenshots in the school community. Okay? So go grab your thing, grab your document, take some screenshots of the vision board, take some screenshots of the front page, who you're associating with and stuff. And then write a nice paragraph. Maybe it can be nasty, whatever you want to write, right? I'm not in control of your speech, but write a paragraph about the mindset module. Fuck it, you can write 10 paragraphs if you want. You can write a novel. Just note it down. And because what I want you to do is reinforce the idea that you believe all this stuff, and there's no better way to do that than posting it in the community. And what this will do is it will encourage new members to partake in the mindset training, but more importantly, it will force you to start acting since thousands of people are going to see this. So it's kind of cool because you get to like solidify your identity in front of the audience, in front of the crowd, in front of the community. And that means that you're more likely to act it out because it's an expectation of you. And also anyone joining the community for the first time, and there's going to be like, for example, today, there might be like 100, 200 people that have joined, right? They're going to see your post and they're going to be inspired to continue through the training. And you just by posting this and writing a nice paragraph about the mindset module may well have a extremely positive impact on someone else's life that you didn't even know about. So yeah, you can write a paragraph, as much information as you want about the mindset module, what you've learned and what you think of it, and go ahead and do that now. Next action item, daily readings. So once you've made this thing, print it off, laminate it, put it in a document, like put it in a book if you can. Read through it twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. Do it 7 days a week, every day, never miss a day, no matter what. Read the affirmations aloud with chest and make sure that you're properly visualizing the whole thing, and when you do, tie it to an emotion. When we're stacking rocks on the scales of beliefs, remember that the more emotion an experience holds, the stronger the impact it will have on the belief. So muster up as much positive emotion as you can and associate this with the image and idea of the affirmation or the visuals you're looking at. I used to imagine myself, when I'd say to myself, like, I believe that money is abundant, and I believe that I always think and act today. I love to be alive. I'm happy to be here. Like when I used to say all my affirmations about making money and building businesses, like my agency makes 10K a month and that's a fact. I love the fact that my agency makes 10K a month, and I can just imagine right now looking at my Stripe and seeing 10K a month in real live time. That beautiful little purple, like up and down graph of showing $10,000 entering my bank account. And then what I'd do is I'd shut my eyes and I'd close my eyes and I'd imagine pulling out my phone out of my pocket, swiping up and seeing $10,000 in 1 month on Stripe. And then I'd of course, if that actually happened in real life, you'd probably feel lots of positive emotion. So then I'd just imagine it and just feel myself filling with joy. I've just created an experience. It's imaginary. It's not true. I'm deluding myself, but it works in stacking the rocks. I used to imagine myself waking up early in my penthouse, driving to the gym, the feel of the seatbelt, the click of the seatbelt. I'd imagine that. The sound of the exhaust, like the cold start of the engine in the underground car park that I'd scouted out years prior. The noise of the demisters on the car. I did the same thing with the business. I do the same thing with my products, the Palm Jumeirah, the cars, everything. Like when you do these affirmations, I cannot stress enough, it's so crucial to have an image and then to have an emotion with that image. Then what you want to do is record yourself reading the entire document aloud and listen to it over and over again, and record yourself saying the affirmations and listen to them over and over again. So on my phone from 2018, 2019, whatever the hell it was, 2018 I think, 17 maybe? Anyway, all those years ago, I've got voice memos of me reading my affirmations. And so what I would do on the way to the gym or on the way to work or on a walk or on the weekends on my spare time, I would listen to my affirmations over and over again. This is called auto-suggestion, where you repeat the same language over and over again until you start to believe it. You want to totally engross yourself in this new reality, not just visually, but audioally as well. So, if you've got a 1 hour drive and you've got 10 minutes of affirmations to listen to, then you can listen to it like over and over again. Like, you just listen to that like 6 times. And before you know it, you'll actually start to believe the things. Like, this works. Like, your brain works on familiarity. And if you just listen over and over again to the same thing, like one of my affirmations was, I make 6 figures and I'm worthy of 6 figures. And I find it so easy to make 6 figures that it's laughable. And then I'd imagine myself at the end of the year doing my like tax returns and putting 100,000 in the spreadsheet, and then like laughing and smiling at it, and then I'd fill up with joy. And like I told myself that every day for like it wasn't even years, a couple of months, and it came true. Then it happened, and I remember very well, because I'd imagined it so many times, it scared the shit out of me. I was doing my tax return form for my accountant, and I put in over $100,000. It's like $118,000, $700, something like that. And it happened. So the images are important. Tell a friend. So send your vision board to someone you trust and love and request them to hold you accountable. It needs to be someone close to you who won't shut the idea down. And then also invite them to the program. Like if there's someone out there who you think would benefit from this mindset training, even if they don't want a business necessarily, like fucking invite them. You must have a friend or someone. You'd be doing me a massive favor, but also yourself, because then you're held accountable by that person to this program. And then the last action item of this mindset module is to finally schedule an EasyGrow call. So you'll have seen the EasyGrow call links, call to action sort of thing in the bottom of all the videos. You're now at the point where you have your business foundation set and your mindset's in a firm place. And I'm hoping you trust me and I've done a good job here, at least a good enough job for you to seriously consider investing in yourself. If you want to solidify your new identity and really ramp up the rate at which you become successful, then you can book a call to talk to my team about EasyGrow. You can do it now. Now, this is not mandatory. This is not like one of those things where I'm forcing you to do it. If you don't feel ready, that's fine. Like I'm not trying to push this on you. All I'm saying is when I started, when I purchased a high ticket course and invested, my identity just locked into place. I was like, fuck this. No, once you've spent fucking good money on a fucking good course, it's very hard to turn back, because your identity votes with its wallet, right? It's a display of seriousness and a great way to overcome resistance in the moment. Purchasing EasyGrow at this point for you is a relentless way to affirm your new becoming self and also basically get what you want way faster as well, because it's way more advanced than the stuff you're going to find here. So there's no obligation. You don't have to do it, but I'm encouraging you to, because what it's going to do is reaffirm this identity, and also it's going to make me richer. That's kind of the whole, I'm being transparent with you. The whole reason I'm making these videos is to help you so that you trust me and make money so that you then pay me. Like, I'm making these videos for you so that you can get more successful, but ultimately I have a self-interest here, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I'm going to be completely transparent every time I pitch you. But if you think that this mindset training is good, then just you wait until you see the training we have on acquisition and booking appointments and sales and EasyGrow. It will blow your fucking mind. But for now, do these things, get them done, and well done, because you have completed the mindset module, self-transcendence. You're never done with this stuff. You're going to have to revisit these videos for years to come. It's going to take you a long, long time to become this person, but you can now see it, and you now have a really clear idea. And I'm so proud of you for making it this far and listening to me and putting up with the sheer amount of ideas. And I also want to just let you know that like it's taken me best part of half a year to make this. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but alongside running the business and stuff, like I've poured my heart, my soul, my blood, my sweat, my tears into this. Not that you care about that or are concerned about that, but I want you to know that I did this for the previous version of myself. This kid here, who you can see, this guy here, I did it for him, and you are him. So that's why I did it. That's why I put so much effort into this, into week 1 and week 2 specifically. And the same amount of effort is going to go into all the other videos as well. But, you know, it's kind of like closing a loop for me, like therapeutically speaking. Like, you know, I went through this, I learned the hard way, and now I get to basically, you know, make your life easier and help you get there faster and not suffer as much as I did. And that means something. That means a lot to me. So I hope you enjoyed Self-Transcendence. It's been a crazy journey having built this. And also, you know, compiling all of my knowledge into Google Docs. It's not been straightforward, but it's certainly been worth it. And it's definitely burned me out at times, and it's had its way with me in many ways. But I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that you have the courage and the wisdom to apply it as I did and have. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck in your entrepreneurial pursuits. Now, I'm still going to be with you for the rest of this program, and this is not goodbye, but I just feel like I need to get that off my chest because I've been working on this and nothing else for like half a fucking year. So for you, it might have been a week or two, you know, maybe a month of learning, but for me, it's been a pretty big chunk of my life. So yeah, that is Designing Reality. That's the end of Self-Transcendence. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to do these action items, and I will look forward to seeing you either in Easy Grow, hopefully, if I've done a good enough job here, or in the next season of this program. See you soon.